Please, I just need $6 more for her seizure medication. I get paid Friday, I'll bring the rest then. Maya Rivera clutched her worn leather wallet, tears threatening to spill as her 7-year-old daughter's breathing became labored beside her. The pharmacist's sympathetic eyes couldn't hide the rigid policy. From behind the two-way glass, billionaire Leo Thorne froze, coffee spilling across imported mahogany as he recognized the woman he'd abandoned 8 years ago, and the young girl whose storm-gray eyes mirrored his own. "Sir, are you all right?" his assistant asked. Leo couldn't tear his gaze from the security monitor. "The child, how old is she?" 7, according to her chart. 7 years. The exact time since he'd left Maya pregnant with twins and anonymously sent her money to solve the problem. As his finger pressed the intercom button, Leo's mind raced with the impossible truth. The twins he'd paid to eliminate, at least one had survived. And now she couldn't breathe. Have you ever wondered what you would do if the person who once shattered your world suddenly reappeared with the power to save it? What choice would you make when your child's life hangs in the balance against years of unanswered questions and broken trust? If you believe in standing up for yourself, even in your darkest hour, this story will touch your heart in ways you never expected. The Coastal Bay Pharmacy stood like an oasis of sterile white light against the gray December afternoon. Rain pattered against the large windows, turning the world outside into a blurry watercolor as Maya Rivera counted the crumpled bills in her wallet for the third time, willing them to multiply. $47.82. The same pathetic sum she'd had 5 minutes ago when she'd first approached the counter. "There must be something you can do," Maya pleaded, glancing down at Lily, whose small fingers clutched the sleeve of her raincoat. Her breathing had grown more labored during the 20-minute bus ride across town, the wheezing audible even in the crowded pharmacy. "Our regular place is closed for renovation. The insurance company denied our claim again, but she needs this medication. She can't wait." Behind the counter, pharmacist Natalie Chin adjusted her glasses, genuine sympathy softening her professional demeanor. She'd seen this scenario play out too many times: desperate parents, sick children, and medication priced beyond reach. "I understand your situation, Ms. Rivera," she said quietly. "But company policy is very strict. Without insurance coverage, the anticonvulsant costs $53.99. Natalie lowered her voice, glancing around to ensure no other customers were listening. "I would help if I could, but I don't have the authority to reduce prices or offer payment plans." "Mommy," Lily's voice was thin, each word clearly requiring effort. "My head feels funny again." Maya knelt beside her daughter, brushing back the dark curls that clung to her forehead. "I know, baby. We're going to get your medicine." She turned back to Natalie, desperation cracking through her carefully maintained composure. "Please, I get paid Friday. I can bring the rest then. I've never missed a payment before. I'm really sorry. Maybe there's a community assistance program." "We've tried them all," Maya interrupted, frustration edging her voice. "The wait lists are months long. Lily needs this now. Today." She fumbled in her purse, pulling out a business card. "Look, this is my workplace. You can call my supervisor. She'll confirm I'm good for the money." Natalie took the card reluctantly, her eyes scanning the information. "Coastal Marine Research Center." "I'm a research assistant," Maya explained, bitter irony coloring her voice. "Working toward my doctorate, one class at a time." The irony wasn't lost on her, dedicating her life to science while unable to afford basic healthcare for her own child. In his private monitoring office, Leo Thorne sat motionless, coffee spreading across imported marble tile as he stared at the security monitor. The cup had slipped from his fingers the moment he recognized her, despite the 8 years that had passed. Maya Rivera. Her hair was different, shorter, practical, and exhaustion had carved subtle lines around her eyes that hadn't been there before, but it was undeniably her. And the child beside her. Leo's breath caught in his throat as he studied the girl's features. The same dark curls he'd had as a child. The same determined set to her jaw even as she struggled to breathe. But most telling were the eyes. Storm gray with distinctive blue flecks, the Thorne family trait that had manifested in every generation for as long as anyone could remember. Mr. Thorne. His assistant's voice seemed to come from miles away. Are you all right, sir? Your coffee. Leo couldn't tear his eyes from the monitor. That woman at the counter, the prescription she's asking for. What is it? His assistant glanced at the screen. Lorazepam. It's an anticonvulsant for severe pediatric seizure cases. Very effective but expensive without coverage. How much? Retail is around $53.99 without insurance. Leo's mind raced with calculations, not financial ones, but temporal. 8 years since he'd walked away from Maya. 8 years since he'd discovered she was pregnant with twins and panicked, sending an anonymous cashier's check with a note suggesting she take care of the problem. The girl looked about 7, allowing for pregnancy and birth. The implications hit him like a physical blow. She hadn't taken care of it. At least, not completely. One of the twins had survived, a daughter with his eyes who couldn't breathe. Without conscious thought, Leo reached for the phone on his desk, dialing the pharmacy counter. Natalie answered almost immediately. This is Thorne, he said, his voice steadier than he felt. Fill that prescription immediately. Put it on my personal account. At the counter, Natalie's expression transformed from regretful to confused as she listened to the voice on the phone. Yes, sir. Right away, Mr. Thorne. She hung up and immediately began typing on her computer, a vertical line appearing between her brows as she processed whatever instructions she'd received. Maya watched the pharmacist warily, one arm wrapped protectively around Lily's shoulders. What's happening? It seems. Natalie paused, clearly choosing her words carefully. It seems an exception has been authorized in your case. The medication will be provided at no cost today. An exception? By whom? Suspicion replaced desperation in Maya's voice. 7 years of struggling alone had taught her that nothing came without strings attached. By the owner, Natalie replied, already reaching for the medication on a nearby shelf. Mr. Thorne has approved it personally. Thorne. Maya repeated, the color draining from her face. Leo Thorne owns this pharmacy. He owns the entire chain, Natalie confirmed, misinterpreting Maya's shock as being impressed by the connection to the pharmaceutical billionaire. Coastal Bay was just acquired by Thorne Pharmaceuticals last month. Mr. Thorne is actually here today for a routine inspection. Maya's gaze snapped to the darkened glass door marked "Private" at the back of the pharmacy, sudden understanding dawning. He's watching us right now, isn't he? On security cameras. Before Natalie could answer, the door opened and Leo Thorne stepped into the pharmacy. The successful businessman bore little resemblance to the struggling graduate student Maya had known 8 years ago. Gone were the faded jeans and passionate idealism, replaced by a tailored suit and the unmistakable confidence of someone who had conquered the world. But his eyes, those striking storm gray eyes that had once looked at her with such devotion, remained unchanged, now filled with a complex mixture of shock, guilt, and something that looked almost like hope. Hello, Maya, he said quietly, stopping several feet away as if uncertain of his welcome. Maya instinctively pulled Lily closer to her side. 8 years without a word, and now you're playing savior. Her voice was low, tightly controlled despite the storm of emotions threatening to overwhelm her. Mommy, who is that? Lily asked, looking up at the stranger with curious eyes. Despite her labored breathing, the simple question seemed to hit Leo like a physical blow. He swallowed hard, his gaze never leaving the girl's face. My name is Leo, he said gently, crouching down to Lily's level. Your mom and I are old friends, and it looks like you're having trouble breathing. Is that right? Lily nodded, her small hand still clutching at her chest. My medicine helps, but it ran out yesterday. Well, it's a good thing we're at a pharmacy then, Leo straightened, addressing Natalie without looking away from Maya and Lily. Is the prescription ready? Yes, sir. Just finished processing it. Natalie handed a white paper bag across the counter. The anticonvulsant is inside, along with instructions for proper usage. Maya reached for the bag, her fingers brushing against Leo's as he simultaneously moved to take it. The brief contact sent an electric shock through her system, anger, confusion, and the ghost of feelings she'd buried years ago. She yanked her hand back as if burned. I don't want your charity, she said fiercely, though she made no move to return the medication. Lily needed it too desperately. It's not charity, Leo replied, his voice steady despite the turmoil evident in his eyes. It's the least I can do. Please, let's talk after Lily takes her medication. The use of her daughter's name sent another jolt through Maya. How do you know her name? I heard you say it earlier, Leo explained, then gestured toward a small seating area near the pharmacy's coffee bar. Please, 5 minutes. That's all I'm asking. Maya wanted to refuse, to walk out with her daughter's medication and never look back. But curiosity and 8 years of unanswered questions held her in place. Besides, Lily needed to use the medication immediately, and the pharmacy was warm and dry compared to the cold rain outside. 5 minutes, she agreed reluctantly. Let me give Lily her medication first. As Maya guided her daughter to the seating area and administered the anticonvulsant with practiced movements, Leo watched from a respectful distance, his mind reeling with implications and possibilities. The girl was undeniably his. The resemblance too striking to ignore. A daughter he'd never known existed. A daughter who suffered from seizures, a condition he knew all too well. The irony wasn't lost on him. He'd built a pharmaceutical empire with the specific mission of making medications more affordable, inspired partly by his own childhood struggles with epilepsy. And now, in one of his own pharmacies, his unknown daughter had nearly been denied medication because of its prohibitive cost. Better? Maya asked softly as Lily's breathing began to ease, the medication taking effect almost immediately. The girl nodded, sun color returning to her pale cheeks. Can I have a juice? She asked, eyeing the refrigerated section visible near the pharmacy counter. Of course. Maya reached for her purse, but Leo was already moving. I'll get it, he said, not waiting for her response. He returned moments later with an apple juice and a small package of crackers, offering them to Lily with a hesitant smile. Is apple okay? They also had orange if you'd prefer. Apple is my favorite, Lily said, accepting the juice with a shy, thank you, that made Leo's heart constrict painfully in his chest. Mine too, Leo replied, the simple shared preference feeling monumentally significant. Maya watched this interaction with wary eyes, her emotions too complex to untangle. Anger still simmered beneath the surface, 8 years of struggle, of raising a child alone while Leo apparently built an empire. But seeing him with Lily, noting the gentle way he spoke to her daughter and the undisguised wonder in his eyes, added confusion to her anger. Why are you here, Leo? She asked when Lily had settled with her juice and crackers, absorbed in a game on Maya's phone. Routine inspection of the new acquisition, he answered automatically, then shook his head. But that's not what you're asking. You want to know why I approached you after all this time. Among other things, Maya's voice was carefully neutral, though her eyes betrayed her turmoil. 8 years without a word, and suddenly you're playing the generous benefactor. Leo leaned forward, hands clasped between his knees. I had no idea you would be here today. Seeing you on the security monitor was... He paused, struggling for words. It was like seeing a ghost. A ghost I've thought about every day for 8 years. Spare me, Maya said sharply. You walked away without a backward glance. You don't get to pretend I haunted you. It's not pretense, Maya, his voice was quiet but intense. Leaving you was the hardest thing I've ever done. Then why did you? The question she'd asked herself 1,000 times in the dark hours of the night when Lily was finally asleep and the weight of single parenthood pressed down on her like a physical burden. Why disappear completely? No call, no message, nothing. Leo's gaze shifted to Lily, who remained oblivious to the tension between the adults, happily tapping at the game on Maya's phone. It's complicated, and not a story for public spaces. He hesitated, clearly choosing his next words carefully. Maya, is she? Is Lily mine? The directness of the question caught her off guard. She'd expected denial, excuses, perhaps even accusations. Not this quiet, almost hopeful inquiry. Yes, she answered simply. No point in lies or evasions now. I found out I was pregnant 2 weeks after you disappeared. Leo closed his eyes briefly, absorbing the confirmation of what he'd already suspected. When he opened them again, they shone with unmistakable emotion. I didn't know, he said, his voice barely above a whisper. I swear to you, Maya, I had no idea you were pregnant when I left. Would it have made a difference? The question escaped before she could stop it, vulnerability bleeding through her carefully constructed armor. It would have changed everything, Leo replied without hesitation. Everything. Outside, the rain intensified, drumming against the pharmacy windows and casting the interior in a strange, isolated light. For a moment it was as if they existed in a bubble, separate from time, not quite in the present with its complications and pain, not quite in the past with its broken promises and unanswered questions. I need to get Lily home, Maya said finally, breaking the fragile moment. She has school tomorrow, and the medication makes her tired. Of course, Leo nodded, disappointment evident in his expression despite his effort to hide it. But Maya, please, there's so much I need to explain. So much you don't know about why I left. I'm not interested in excuses, Leo. Not excuses, truth. He reached into his jacket, producing a business card made of heavy stock paper. My personal number is on the back. Call me anytime, day or night. When she hesitated to take it, he added softly, if not for me, then for Lily. She deserves to know her father, doesn't she? The gentle manipulation struck a nerve. Don't you dare use my daughter as leverage, Maya hissed, though she took the card, slipping it into her coat pocket. You haven't earned the right to call yourself her father. You're right, Leo conceded immediately. I haven't. But I'd like the chance to try. He glanced at Lily, who had looked up at the tension in her mother's voice. For what it's worth, she seems like an amazing kid. You've done an incredible job, Maya. The unexpected praise, simple, direct, and apparently sincere, caught her off guard. For 7 years, she had carried the burden of single parenthood alone, rarely receiving acknowledgement for the sacrifices she'd made. To hear it from Leo, of all people, stirred emotions she wasn't prepared to examine. We need to go, she repeated, gathering her things and helping Lily into her coat. Thank you for the medication. I'll repay you when I can. There's no need. I'll repay you, Maya insisted, her pride evident in the set of her jaw. I don't need your charity, Leo. I've managed for 7 years without it. As she guided Lily toward the door, Leo called after her, Maya, wait. At least let me drive you home. It's pouring out there. She paused, conflict evident in her expression. The practical part of her acknowledged the sense in accepting the ride. The bus wouldn't come for another 20 minutes, and standing in the rain would do Lily's condition no favors. But accepting would mean extending this unexpected reunion, allowing Leo further into their carefully constructed lives. Please, Mommy, Lily's small voice decided the matter. My chest still hurts a little. Maya's resistance crumbled at her daughter's plea. Fine, she agreed, turning back to Leo. But just a ride home, nothing more. If you've ever had to choose between your pride and your child's well-being, you know the impossible decision Maya faced in that moment. Hit that like button if you believe everyone deserves access to healthcare regardless of their financial situation, and subscribe to our channel for more stories that challenge our assumptions about love, loss, and redemption. The sleek black Tesla parked behind the pharmacy stood in stark contrast to the public bus they would have taken, a tangible symbol of how far their lives had diverged. Leo opened the rear door, helping Lily into the booster seat that his driver, with remarkable foresight, had already installed. "You came prepared," Maya observed as she slid in beside her daughter, unable to keep the edge from her voice. "The car belongs to the company," Leo explained, taking the front passenger seat rather than joining them in the back, giving Maya the space she clearly needed. "We keep it equipped for executives with families." As the driver navigated through rain-slick streets, Maya provided her address, an apartment complex in a modest neighborhood far from the upscale pharmacy. Silence filled the car, broken only by Lily's occasional comments about the fancy car and its many buttons and features. "Have you always had seizures, Lily?" Leo asked, turning slightly in his seat to address her directly, his tone carefully casual. "Since I was little," Lily replied, her attention divided between the car's amenities and the conversation. "Mommy says I was born with special brain wiring." "I had epilepsy as a child too," Leo said, meeting Maya's startled gaze briefly before returning his attention to Lily. "I used to hate using the medication, but it gets easier." "Really? You had it too?" Lily's interest was piqued, her eyes lighting up at this unexpected connection with the stranger. "All through elementary school and middle school. It got better when I was about 14. So mine might go away too." "It's possible," Leo answered carefully, clearly not wanting to make promises. "Everyone's different, but there are excellent treatments available now that weren't around when I was your age." Maya watched this exchange with a mixture of emotions she couldn't quite name. Anger still simmered beneath the surface. 8 years of abandonment couldn't be erased by one act of generosity or a shared medical condition. But seeing Leo interact with Lily, noting the genuine interest in his eyes and the careful way he answered her questions, added layers of complexity to her feelings. The car pulled up outside their apartment building, a utilitarian structure from the 1970s, clean but showing its age in ways impossible to disguise. Maya saw Leo taking in the surroundings, his expression carefully neutral, and felt a flash of defiance. "Not quite what you're used to, I imagine," she said as the driver opened her door. "I grew up in a place much like this," Leo replied quietly. "My mother raised 3 of us in a 2-bedroom apartment not unlike these." The reminder of his humble beginnings, something Maya had once known intimately during their relationship, caught her off guard. It was easier to hate the billionaire who'd abandoned her than to reconcile that image with the struggling graduate student she'd once loved, the one who'd shared stories of his difficult childhood and his dreams of making a difference. "Thank you for the ride," she said stiffly, helping Lily out of the car. "And the medication." "Maya," Leo called as she turned to walk away. "Please call me. If not about us, then about Lily's treatment. I can help make sure she never goes without medication again." "We've managed this long," she replied, though the fight had diminished in her voice, replaced by simple exhaustion. "You shouldn't have to just manage." Leo's eyes held hers, intensity radiating from him despite the distance between them. "Neither should she." Maya didn't respond, simply guiding Lily toward their building entrance. But the business card burned in her pocket like a hot coal, a temptation and a threat all at once. "Who is that man, Mommy?" Lily asked as they climbed the stairs to their 3rd-floor apartment, the elevator being out of service again. Maya hesitated, uncertain how to answer. "He's someone I used to know a long time ago." "He had seizures like me," Lily observed, the simple connection clearly significant to her. "And he has the same color eyes as me. Miss Patel says my eyes are special because they're not brown like yours." The innocent observation struck Maya like a physical blow. She'd always known this day would come. Children were naturally observant, especially about differences between themselves and their parents. But she'd imagined having this conversation years from now, when Lily was old enough to understand the complexities of adult relationships and choices. Yes, your eyes are special, she agreed, unlocking their apartment door and ushering Lily inside. Why don't you get ready for your bath while I start dinner? The medicine works better when you have a hot bath to help clear your lungs. As Lily disappeared into the bathroom, Maya leaned against the closed apartment door, emotions threatening to overwhelm her. 8 years of carefully constructed stability, of answers rehearsed for the inevitable day when Lily would ask about her father, all potentially undone by a chance encounter at a pharmacy. She pulled Leo's business card from her pocket, staring at the embossed logo of Thorne Pharmaceuticals and the handwritten cell phone number on the back. The temptation to tear it into pieces warred with the practical knowledge that Leo could provide security for Lily that she'd never been able to offer alone. The memory of their final days together surfaced unbidden, the mysterious phone calls Leo had started receiving, his increasing distraction, and finally the note she'd found in their apartment. I can't do this anymore. Don't try to find me. I'm sorry. No explanation, no goodbye, just those cold words that had shattered her world. 2 weeks later, the pregnancy test had confirmed what she'd already begun to suspect. Alone, her academic dreams deferred, Maya had faced the most difficult decision of her life. But looking at those 2 pink lines, she'd found a strength she hadn't known she possessed. She would have this baby. She would find a way. Then came the anonymous cashier's check for $10,000 with the typewritten note, to help you take care of the problem. Don't try to contact me. She'd known instantly it was from Leo, the only person who could have known about her pregnancy, who must have guessed from the early symptoms she'd been experiencing before he left. The coldness of it, the implication that their child was a problem to be eliminated, had broken something in her that had never fully healed. Maya had torn the check into pieces and flushed it down the toilet. She would rather struggle for the rest of her life than accept money to terminate the pregnancy. A week later, the ultrasound had revealed twins, 2 tiny heartbeats flickering on the grainy hospital monitor. For a brief, shining moment, Maya had felt twice blessed despite her circumstances. But at 5 months, complications arose. Severe preeclampsia led to an emergency cesarean. Only one baby survived, tiny Lily, who spent her first 6 weeks in the NICU while Maya recovered from the trauma of nearly losing both her children. The son they'd lost, the twin whose death had nearly destroyed her, was the ghost that had haunted her ever since, his absence a physical ache that never quite subsided. And now Leo Thorne had reappeared, successful beyond imagination, offering help she desperately needed but was terrified to accept. Because accepting meant acknowledging his place in Lily's life, opening doors that might never be closed again. The sound of water running in the bathroom pulled Maya from her thoughts. She tucked the card back into her pocket and moved to the kitchen, focusing on the immediate task of preparing dinner rather than the storm of emotions threatening to overwhelm her. Tomorrow would be soon enough to make decisions about Leo Thorne and his sudden reappearance in their lives. Tonight, Lily needed normality, routine, and the security of the life she'd built for them, fragile though it sometimes seemed. 3 days passed without Maya contacting Leo, though the business card migrated from her coat pocket to her wallet, a constant reminder of the decision that loomed. Lily's condition improved with the medication, her breathing easier, her energy returning to normal levels. But the prescription would only last 2 weeks, and then they would face the same dilemma again. On the 4th day, as Maya was finishing her shift at the Marine Research Center, her phone rang with an unknown number. She almost ignored it, assuming it was another debt collector about her student loans, but something compelled her to answer. "Is this Maya Rivera?" a woman's professional voice inquired. "Yes." "Who's calling?" "This is Principal Watkins from Coastal Elementary. I'm calling about Lily. She's had a seizure during physical education, and it's not responding well to her rescue medication. We've called an ambulance as a precaution." The world seemed to tilt beneath Maya's feet, fear gripping her throat. "I'm on my way." "Which hospital are they taking her to?" "Bay Memorial. It's the closest to the school." Maya thanked the caller and immediately requested emergency leave from her supervisor, who granted it without hesitation. But as she ran to the bus stop, she realized with sinking dread that the next bus wouldn't arrive for 20 minutes, and a taxi would cost money she didn't have. With shaking hands, she pulled out her phone again, staring at it for a long moment before making a decision that went against every fiber of her independent nature. She pulled Leo's card from her wallet and dialed the number scrawled on the back. He answered on the second ring. Maya. His voice registered immediate concern. Is everything all right? It's Lily, she said, professional calm giving way to maternal fear. She's having a severe seizure. They're taking her to Bay Memorial by ambulance, and I don't have a way to get there quickly. Where are you now? Coastal Marine Research Center on Harbor Drive. Stay there. I'm 10 minutes away. We'll go to the hospital together. True to his word, Leo's car pulled up outside the center 8 minutes later. He jumped out before the driver could open his door, his expression tight with worry. Any updates? He asked as Maya climbed into the back seat beside him. She shook her head, clutching her phone as if it were a lifeline. Nothing yet. I called the school again, but the ambulance had already left. This is bad, Leo, she couldn't keep the tremor from her voice. She's had seizures before, but they've always responded to the rescue medication. Without hesitation, Leo reached across the seat, taking her hand in his. The gesture was so unexpected, so reminiscent of their past intimacy, that Maya nearly pulled away. But the comfort of human contact in this moment of terror overrode her instinct for distance. She's going to be okay, Leo said with a certainty she envied. Bay Memorial has an excellent pediatric neurology unit. How would you know that? A shadow of something like guilt crossed his features. Thorne Pharmaceuticals funds their research department. I make it my business to know which facilities provide the best care. The car moved through traffic with impressive speed, Leo's driver navigating congested streets with the skill of someone accustomed to urgency. They reached the hospital in record time, Leo immediately guiding Maya toward the emergency entrance with a hand at the small of her back. At the reception desk, Maya's panic surged when the clerk couldn't immediately locate information about Lily. She should be here by now. The school called an ambulance at least 30 minutes ago. Let me check with the pediatric emergency department directly, the clerk offered, reaching for the phone. Leo stepped forward, placing his business card on the counter. The patient's name is Lily Rivera, 7 years old, admitted for a severe seizure. Please expedite this inquiry. The effect of his name was immediate. The clerk's eyes widened slightly as she registered the Thorne Pharmaceuticals logo, and her demeanor shifted from professional concern to focused attention. Yes, Mr. Thorne. Right away, sir. Maya shot Leo a look that mingled gratitude with discomfort at the special treatment. He merely squeezed her hand in response, his attention fixed on the clerk as she spoke rapidly into the phone. They've just arrived in pediatric emergency, the clerk reported, hanging up. Dr. Catherine Winters is attending. If you'll follow me, I'll take you there directly. As they hurried through the hospital corridors, Maya found herself clinging to Leo's hand like a lifeline. 8 years of anger and abandonment issues seemed inconsequential compared to the fear gripping her heart. In this moment, he wasn't the man who had left her pregnant and alone, he was simply someone sharing her terror for their child. The pediatric emergency unit was a flurry of controlled activity. Through the glass wall of a treatment room, Maya could see Lily on a bed, an oxygen mask covering her small face, monitors attached to her chest. A doctor, presumably Dr. Winters, was examining her while a nurse adjusted something on an N4 stand. Lily. Maya broke away from Leo, rushing toward the room, only to be intercepted by a nurse. Are you her mother? The nurse asked, her tone gentle but firm. Yes. You can go in, but please understand they're still stabilizing her. Maya nodded, tears threatening to spill over. What happened? Is she going to be okay? Dr. Winters will explain everything. Go ahead in, but try to stay calm for her sake. Maya entered the treatment room immediately, moving to Lily's side and taking her small hand in hers. Her daughter's eyes, so like Leo's, widened with relief at the sight of her, though the oxygen mask prevented her from speaking. "I'm here, baby," she whispered, smoothing Lily's damp curls back from her forehead. "Mommy's here. You're going to be fine." Dr. Winters, a woman in her 40s with a calm, authoritative presence, looked up from the chart she was reviewing. "Ms. Rivera, I'm Dr. Winters. Lily had a severe seizure episode that didn't respond to her rescue medication. We're administering intravenous anticonvulsants and oxygen therapy." "Why didn't her medication work?" Maya asked, medical assistant training kicking in as she tried to understand the situation. "It's always been effective before. We're running tests now, but based on her presentation, I suspect this may be more than standard pediatric epilepsy." "What does that mean?" Dr. Winters' gaze shifted past Maya, her expression changing subtly. "Mr. Thorne, I didn't expect to see you here today." Maya turned to find Leo standing in the doorway, his face pale as he took in the sight of Lily connected to monitors and breathing apparatus. Something in his expression, raw fear mixed with helpless concern, struck Maya profoundly. This wasn't the reaction of a man who had just learned about his child's existence. This was the visceral response of a father seeing his daughter in distress. "Lily is my daughter," Leo said simply, the public declaration sending a jolt through Maya. "What can you tell us about her condition?" If Dr. Winters was surprised by this revelation, she hid it well. "As I was explaining to Ms. Rivera, we're administering emergency treatment now. Her response is positive but slower than I'd like to see. I've ordered comprehensive neurological testing and blood work to determine if there's an underlying factor complicating her epilepsy." "Like what?" Maya asked, fear sharpening her voice. "There are several possibilities, including certain genetic variants of epilepsy that require specialized treatment protocols." Dr. Winters hesitated, her gaze moving between Leo and Maya. "Mr. Thorne, does your family have a history of seizure disorders?" "Yes," Leo replied without hesitation. "I had severe epilepsy as a child. My father and grandfather as well." Dr. Winters nodded as if this confirmed something she'd suspected. "I'd like to run a specific genetic panel with your permission. There's a hereditary form of epilepsy that presents similarly to standard seizure disorders but requires different management." "Of course," Maya agreed immediately. "Whatever she needs." "I'll arrange for the tests immediately," Dr. Winters said. "In the meantime, Lily will need to remain here under observation until her condition stabilizes completely. One of you is welcome to stay with her." As the doctor left to order the tests, Maya finally allowed herself to process what had just happened. Leo had publicly claimed Lily as his daughter without hesitation. Moreover, he'd revealed a family history of epilepsy that might be crucial to Lily's diagnosis and treatment, information she'd never had access to before. "You should have told me about your epilepsy," she said quietly, still holding Lily's hand as her daughter drifted into an exhausted sleep, the medication taking effect. "All these years, I thought it was just bad luck or environmental factors." "I would have if I'd known about her," Leo replied, his voice equally low. He moved to stand on the opposite side of Lily's bed, his gaze fixed on the girl's face. "Maya, I swear to you, I had no idea you were pregnant when I left." "Even if that's true, you still left." The words held less bite than they might have days ago, tempered by the reality of their shared concern for their daughter. "Without explanation, without even saying goodbye." "I know," Leo's expression was haunted, years of regret evident in his eyes. "And I'll explain everything, I promise. But right now, Lily needs both of us focused on her." Maya couldn't argue with that priority. Whatever lay between them, 8 years of absence, unanswered questions, broken trust, their daughter's health came first. "I'll stay with her tonight," she said, gesturing to the reclining chair beside the hospital bed. "You should go. You've probably got meetings or whatever billionaires do." "Maya, I'm not going anywhere," Leo replied with quiet determination. "Unless you explicitly ask me to leave, I'm staying right here with both of you." The simple declaration shouldn't have affected her as deeply as it did. After years of handling every crisis alone, the idea of sharing this burden, even with the man who had abandoned her, offered a relief Maya hadn't realized she desperately needed. Fine, she conceded, too exhausted to maintain her defensive walls. But don't think this changes anything between us. I don't, Leo assured her, though something in his expression suggested he hoped otherwise. This is about Lily, not us. As night fell outside the hospital windows, Maya watched Leo make a series of quiet phone calls, rearranging whatever commitments he'd had. Between calls, he spoke with nurses and orderlies by name, clearly familiar with the hospital staff. At one point, he disappeared briefly, returning with a bag containing sandwiches, fruit, and bottled water. "You should eat something," he said, offering her the food. "It's going to be a long night." The simple gesture of care, remembering that she would need sustenance during their vigil, cracked something in Maya's carefully maintained composure. For 7 years, she had been both mother and father, provider and nurturer, strong and vulnerable all at once. Having someone else, anyone else, think about her basic needs felt like a luxury she'd forgotten existed. "Thank you," she said, accepting the sandwich with a gratitude that extended beyond the simple meal. Hours passed in a strange suspended state, not quite the hostility of their pharmacy encounter, not quite the intimacy they'd once shared, but something new and undefined. They spoke little, communicating primarily through shared glances and the synchronized way they responded to Lily's occasional stirring. Just after midnight, Dr. Winters returned with preliminary test results, her expression serious but not alarming. "As I suspected, Lily has thorn familial epilepsy," she announced, referring to a tablet in her hands. "Thorn familial epilepsy?" Maya repeated, confusion evident in her voice. Dr. Winters glanced at Leo, a silent communication passing between them. "Perhaps Mr. Thorne should explain." Leo sighed, running a hand through his hair in a gesture Maya remembered from their past, a sign of emotional conflict. "It's a specific genetic variant of epilepsy, first documented in my family 3 generations ago. My grandfather worked with researchers to identify the genetic markers. That's how I got interested in pharmaceutical research initially." "You never told me that," Maya said, the revelation adding another layer to the man she thought she'd known completely. "It didn't seem relevant at the time," Leo replied, though guilt shadowed his features. "My own case was well controlled by then. I hadn't had an attack in years." "The good news," Dr. Winters interjected, "is that Thorne Pharmaceuticals has developed highly effective treatments specifically for this condition. We can start Lily on a customized protocol immediately." Maya struggled to process this information, her medical training warring with maternal concern and the disorienting sensation of discovering crucial information about her daughter's health through the father who had abandoned them both. "Will her insurance cover this specialized treatment?" she asked, practical concerns immediately surfacing. "Our current plan barely covers basic anti-seizure medication." "That won't be an issue," Leo said before Dr. Winters could respond. "I'll ensure all of Lily's medical expenses are covered, regardless of insurance limitations." "I don't want your money, Leo." "This isn't about money, Maya," his voice was quiet but intense. "This is about our daughter's health. Please let me do this one thing right, even if I failed at everything else." The raw honesty in his voice, the plea beneath his words, caught Maya off guard. Before she could respond, Lily stirred, her eyes fluttering open. She looked between her mother and Leo, confusion giving way to recognition. "You're the man from the pharmacy," she said, her voice muffled by the oxygen mask but audible. "The one who had seizures too." "That's right," Leo confirmed, his expression softening as he addressed Lily directly. "How are you feeling, sweetheart?" "Better." "Not so tight anymore." Lily's gaze remained curious, studying Leo with an intensity that reminded Maya of herself. "Why are you here? Are you a doctor?" "No, I'm not a doctor." Leo glanced at Maya, a silent question in his eyes. She hesitated, caught between protecting her daughter from potential disappointment and acknowledging a truth that couldn't, and perhaps shouldn't, be hidden any longer. After a moment, she nodded slightly, giving Leo permission to continue. "I'm your father, Lily," Leo said simply, the words hanging in the hospital room like a physical presence. Lily's eyes widened, darting between Leo and Maya with confusion and dawning comprehension. "My father? But Mommy said my father had to go away before I was born." "That's true," Leo acknowledged, pain evident in his voice despite his attempt to keep his tone light for Lily's benefit. "I did have to go away, but I didn't know about you then. If I had known, things would have been very different." "Different how?" Lily asked, the directness of childhood cutting straight to the heart of the matter. Leo seemed momentarily at a loss, caught between honesty and age-appropriate explanation. "I would have been there," he said finally. "For your birth, your first steps, your first words, for everything. Why weren't you there?" Lily persisted, voicing the question Maya had carried for 8 years. "That's a complicated story," Leo replied carefully. "One that I need to explain to your mom first. But what matters now is that I'm here, and I want to help you get better." Lily considered this with surprising thoughtfulness for a 7-year-old. "Do I have to call you Dad?" The question clearly caught Leo off guard. "No," he said after a moment. "You can call me Leo until you're comfortable with something else. Or whatever you want, really." "Okay." Lily seemed satisfied with this arrangement, her attention already shifting as exhaustion pulled at her. "I'm really tired, Mommy." "I know, baby. Get some sleep." Maya smoothed her daughter's curls back from her forehead, a gesture of comfort she had performed countless times over the years. "I'll be right here when you wake up." "Will he be here too?" Lily asked, her eyelids growing heavy as she glanced toward Leo. "If you want me to be," Leo answered before Maya could, though he immediately looked to her for confirmation. "Yes, he'll be here," Maya found herself saying, unable to deny the hope in her daughter's eyes despite her own reservations. As Lily drifted back to sleep, the soft beeping of monitors the only sound in the room, Maya found herself studying Leo's face. 8 years had changed him, success had added confidence, responsibility had carved subtle lines around his eyes, and grief, for that's what she recognized in his expression when he looked at their daughter, had tempered the reckless ambition she'd once known. "You said you had to go away," she said quietly, breaking the silence that had settled between them. "Not that you chose to go." "What did you mean by that?" Leo's gaze remained on Lily's sleeping form, his response so low Maya had to strain to hear it. "Exactly what I said. I had to go. It wasn't a choice, Maya. It was the only way to protect you." "Protect me from what?" Disbelief colored her tone. "How does abandoning someone without explanation protect them?" From Harlow, Leo finally looked up, meeting her skeptical gaze with unflinching intensity. "Professor Harlow. The man who threatened to destroy you if I didn't cut all ties immediately." The name struck Maya like a physical blow. Professor Richard Harlow, the department chair at Pacific Coast University where they'd both been graduate students. She remembered him vaguely, a slick, polished academic who had taken a special interest in Leo's research while subtly undermining her own. She'd never liked him, had sensed something predatory beneath his charming exterior, but she'd had no idea he played any role in Leo's disappearance. "That's convenient," she said, though doubt had begun to creep in where certainty had once resided. 8 years later, you blame someone else for abandoning me." "Harlow is very much alive and still in academia," Leo replied, reaching for his phone. "And I have proof of what he did. I've carried it with me every day for 8 years, waiting for the moment I might find you again and explain." He pulled up something on his phone, hesitating before offering it to her. "This is difficult to hear, but it's the truth." Reluctantly, Maya took the phone, seeing it was cued to an audio recording. She pressed play, and the voice that emerged from the speaker sent a chill down her spine, smooth, cultured, and laced with a casual malice that made her blood run cold. "You have 2 choices, Leo. Walk away from the girl completely, no goodbyes, no explanations, just disappear. Or watch as I systematically destroy her career. That promising doctoral candidacy. Gone. Those research grants she's so proud of. Revoked. I have the connections to make it all happen, and you know I will. So what's it going to be? Your pitiful romance or her future? Maya's hand trembled as she handed the phone back to Leo, her mind reeling with implications. When was this recorded? The day before I left, Leo replied, his voice hollow with remembered pain. Harlow had discovered our relationship, which I'd kept private because of the professional complications. He saw you as a threat to his department's funding priorities. When I told him I was serious about you, that I was considering proposing, he trailed off, unable to finish. He threatened me, Maya finished, the pieces falling into place with sickening clarity. And you believed him? You thought he could actually do those things? I knew he could, Leo corrected grimly. Harlow came from old money with connections in every academic institution on the West Coast. He'd already demonstrated his willingness to destroy people who got in his way. A promising doctoral student with no family connections, no financial safety net, you would have been an easy target. So you left. The accusation had lost some of its edge, tempered by the evidence she'd just heard, without telling me why, without giving me any choice in the matter. I thought I was protecting you, Leo said, regret evident in every line of his face, giving you a chance at the future you'd worked so hard for. If I'd known you were pregnant, he trailed off, his gaze returning to Lily's sleeping form, I would have found another way. Any other way. Maya absorbed this in silence, her worldview shifting once again. For 8 years, she had built her life around the certainty of Leo's abandonment, his choice to walk away without a backward glance. To discover now that he'd left to protect her, however misguided the decision, threatened the very foundation of the narrative she'd constructed. Why didn't you come back? She asked finally. After you got away from Harlow's influence, why not try to find me? I did. Leo's admission was quiet but clear. 6 months after I left, when I'd established enough independence from Harlow to protect you from retaliation, I went back to our apartment, but you were gone. The university said you'd withdrawn from the doctoral program. None of our mutual friends knew where you'd gone. I moved to my aunt's in Bayshore, Maya said, the memory still painful despite the years that had passed. After I found out I was pregnant, I couldn't stay in Pacific Cove, surrounded by reminders of our life together, of the future I thought we'd have. I hired private investigators, Leo continued. 3 different firms over the years. But you'd changed your professional name back to your mother's maiden name, minimized your online presence, and without knowing about Lily, I had no reason to search for a woman with a child. The bitter irony of their situation wasn't lost on Maya. She had disappeared to protect herself from the pain of abandonment, while Leo had abandoned her to protect her from a threat she'd never known existed. Years of separation, of struggle and loneliness, all because of secrets and assumptions neither had questioned until now. I'm not asking for forgiveness, Leo said, breaking the heavy silence that had fallen between them. I know what I did hurt you beyond measure, regardless of my intentions. But I am asking for a chance, Maya. A chance to be part of Lily's life. A chance to make amends in whatever way you'll allow. Before she could respond, a soft moan from the bed drew both their attention. Lily was stirring again, her breathing more labored than it had been earlier. Maya immediately pressed the call button for the nurse, maternal concern overriding all other emotions. Something's wrong, she said, professional training kicking in as she noted the decline in Lily's oxygen saturation on the monitor. Her levels are dropping. Leo was already at the door, calling for medical assistance with the authority of someone accustomed to immediate response. Dr. Winters appeared within moments, quickly assessing Lily's condition with focused efficiency. She's having a secondary reaction, she announced, issuing rapid instructions to the nurses who had followed her in. We need to adjust her medication immediately. Ms. Rivera, Mr. Thorne, I'll need you to step outside while we stabilize her. I'm not leaving her, Maya protested, panic rising in her throat. Please, Ms. Rivera, we need space to work effectively. Dr. Winter's tone was gentle but firm. I promise we'll update you as soon as we can. As they were ushered into the hallway, Maya found herself trembling uncontrollably, fear overwhelming her usual composure. Without conscious thought, she turned to Leo, who immediately wrapped his arms around her in a gesture so familiar it broke through her remaining defenses. She clung to him, 8 years of independent strength giving way to the simple human need for comfort in a moment of terror. She's going to be okay, Leo murmured against her hair, his own voice not entirely steady. Dr. Winters is the best in her field. And Lily is strong, like her mother. What if this is the genetic form you mentioned? Maya asked, pulling back slightly to look up at him. What if it's more serious than regular epilepsy? Then we'll get her the best treatment available, Leo replied without hesitation. Whatever it takes, wherever we need to go. I promise you, Maya, our daughter will have every advantage medical science can provide. Our daughter. The simple phrase, spoken with such certainty and commitment, sent a complex wave of emotions through Maya. For 7 years, Lily had been hers alone, her responsibility, her joy, her purpose. The idea of sharing her, of acknowledging Leo's place in her life, was both terrifying and strangely liberating. Before she could process these conflicting feelings, Dr. Winters emerged from the treatment room, her expression cautiously optimistic. We've stabilized her, she reported. The secondary reaction was to one of the standard anti-seizure medications in her system. It confirms my suspicion that she has the variant form of the condition. Is she going to be all right? Maya asked, the only question that mattered in this moment. Yes, with proper treatment. We're adjusting her medication protocol now. Dr. Winters glanced at Leo. Mr. Thorne, given your family history with this condition, I'd like to consult with the specialists at your research facility. The treatment they've developed for Thorne familial epilepsy would be ideal for Lily's case. Of course, Leo agreed immediately. I'll make the arrangements now. Whatever resources you need, whatever specialists can help, they're at your disposal. As Dr. Winters departed to coordinate with the medical team, Maya found herself confronting a new reality. Lily's health, perhaps her very life, might depend on treatments developed by Leo's company, on research inspired by the same genetic condition that had plagued Leo's childhood. The connection between father and daughter extended beyond physical resemblance to the very cells that comprised their being. You built a pharmaceutical company, she said, the realization dawning fully for the first time. Not just any pharmaceutical company, but one that specializes in treatments for the condition you suffered from as a child. The condition our daughter has inherited. Leo nodded, a complexity of emotions crossing his features. After I left Pacific Cove, after I lost you, I needed purpose. The graduate research we'd been doing was in ruins. I had nothing but the knowledge of my own medical history and a determination to build something meaningful. So you created treatments for others like you? I created treatments I wished had existed when I was Lily's age, Leo corrected gently. Affordable ones, accessible ones. Harlow had wanted to focus on high-profit medications for common conditions. I went in the opposite direction, specialized treatments for rare conditions, priced as reasonably as possible while maintaining research funding. The irony wasn't lost on Maya. The man she had spent years resenting for his abandonment had built his life's work around preventing others from suffering as he had. Moreover, that work might now save their daughter from the same suffering. May we see her now? She asked, unable to process all the implications in this moment of crisis. A nurse appeared at the treatment room door, beckoning them inside. She's asking for both of you. Lily looked smaller somehow against the white hospital sheets, the oxygen mask once again covering the lower half of her face. But her eyes, those storm-gray eyes so like Leo's, were alert and tracked them as they approached the bed from opposite sides. Hey, kiddo, Leo said softly, his voice gentle in a way Maya had never heard before. You gave us quite a scare. Lily's eyes crinkled slightly, suggesting a smile beneath the mask. She lifted one small hand toward Leo, who took it without hesitation, his larger fingers engulfing the girl's with careful tenderness. "The doctor says you're going to be just fine," Maya assured her daughter, taking her other hand in hers. "They're giving you special medicine that will help you with your seizures much better." "Medicine like his?" Lily asked, her voice muffled but clear enough as she glanced toward Leo. "Yes, exactly like mine," Leo confirmed. "I had the same seizures when I was your age, and the doctors figured out exactly how to fix it. Now they're going to do the same for you." Lily seemed to consider this, her gaze moving thoughtfully between the two adults. Then, with the simple clarity of childhood, she asked the question that cut to the heart of everything. "Are you going to stay now? Since you're my dad?" The question hung in the air between them, carrying the innocent weight of a child's hope and the complicated burden of adult decisions. Leo's eyes met Maya's across the hospital bed, silently acknowledging that this moment required absolute honesty. "I want to stay," Leo answered carefully, still holding Lily's small hand in his. "If your mom agrees, I would very much like to be part of your life from now on." Lily turned expectantly to Maya, her expression hopeful despite the oxygen mask covering half her face. "Mommy, can he stay?" Maya felt the pressure of both their gazes, her daughter's innocent expectation and Leo's cautious hope. For 7 years, she'd made every decision about Lily's life alone, bearing the full weight of parental responsibility. Now, in this sterile hospital room at 3 in the morning, she faced perhaps the most consequential choice of all. "We'll talk about it when you're feeling better," she replied, buying time she desperately needed. "Right now, the most important thing is for you to rest and get well." Lily's eyelids were already growing heavy, the medication taking effect, but she had one more question. "He won't disappear again?" The question broke Maya's heart with its simple fear, revealing concerns her daughter had never before expressed. "I won't disappear," Leo promised before Maya could respond. "No matter what happens between me and your mom, I'll be here for you, Lily. I give you my word." The sincerity in his voice struck Maya deeply. This wasn't the calculated response of a businessman or the empty promise of someone seeking to ease their conscience. This was a father making a vow to his daughter, one Maya sensed he would move heaven and earth to keep. As Lily drifted back to sleep, the tension in the room shifted. The immediate crisis had passed, leaving them in a strange limbo of a shared vigil, connected by the sleeping child between them but separated by 8 years of absence and misunderstanding. "You should get some rest," Leo said softly, noting the exhaustion evident in Maya's posture. The recliner converts to a reasonably comfortable bed. "I'll keep watch and wake you if anything changes." "I'm fine," Maya insisted, though her body betrayed her with a poorly suppressed yawn. "You've been awake for nearly 20 hours, working a full shift before rushing here," Leo pointed out gently. "Lily needs you rested and strong. Let me do this, at least." The logic was undeniable, however much her instincts rebelled against relinquishing control. After a moment's hesitation, Maya nodded reluctantly. "Wake me in a few hours so you can rest too." "I will," Leo agreed, though something in his expression suggested he had no intention of sleeping. As Maya reclined in the chair, adjusting it to its flat position, she found herself studying Leo through half-closed eyes. He had pulled a chair close to Lily's bedside, one hand resting lightly on the edge of the mattress near their daughter's arm, his gaze fixed on the steady rise and fall of the girl's chest as if memorizing the rhythm of her breathing. The sight was both comforting and disconcerting, a glimpse of what might have been if circumstances had been different, if Harlow hadn't intervened, if Leo had known about the pregnancy. Despite her lingering doubts and the practical concerns that waited beyond this hospital room, Maya felt the first fragile tendrils of something like trust begin to form as she drifted into exhausted sleep. If you've ever had to decide whether to let someone back into your life after they hurt you, you know the impossible choice Maya faced. Sometimes the hardest decisions come when we're most vulnerable. Like and subscribe to our channel for more stories about the complicated journey of forgiveness and what it truly means to put a child's needs first. She woke to sunlight streaming through the hospital blinds and the unfamiliar sound of her daughter's laughter. Disoriented, Maya sat up quickly, her gaze immediately seeking Lily. The scene that greeted her was so unexpected it momentarily robbed her of speech. Lily, sitting up in bed, the oxygen mask replaced by a less restrictive nasal cannula, was giggling at something Leo had said. A breakfast tray balanced between them, evidence of a shared meal. Most surprisingly, a collection of origami animals marched across the bedside table, paper creations in various stages of complexity. "Mommy." Lily noticed her first, her voice stronger than it had been the previous night. "Leo showed me how to make a paper fox. And he knows magic tricks." "Does he now?" Maya replied, struggling to reconcile the serious businessman she'd encountered at the pharmacy with this man who apparently knew origami and magic tricks. Leo looked slightly embarrassed. "Just basic sleight of hand. Nothing impressive." "He made a quarter appear for my ear," Lily reported with the solemn certainty of a child who had witnessed genuine magic. "And he knows how to make an elephant with just one piece of paper." "I had a lot of hospital stays as a kid," Leo explained to Maya, reading the question in her expression. "I learned ways to entertain myself during the long hours." The casual revelation offered a glimpse into Leo's childhood that Maya had never known about, the lonely hours of isolation, the coping mechanisms developed by a sick child. It added yet another dimension to the man she'd once thought she knew completely. "How long was I asleep?" she asked, running a hand through her tangled hair, suddenly conscious of her rumpled appearance. "About 5 hours, Leo replied. Dr. Winters came by around 6. Lily's responding well to the new medication protocol. If her improvement continues, they're considering releasing her tomorrow with a comprehensive home treatment plan. Maya couldn't keep the surprise from her voice. But she was in serious condition just hours ago. The specialized medication makes a significant difference, Leo explained. It's designed specifically for the genetic variant she has. My company has been developing it for years. Your company, Maya repeated, the reality of Leo's position still difficult to fully process. Thorn Pharmaceuticals. Yes. Leo seemed to hesitate, something like embarrassment crossing his features. I should have mentioned earlier, I've arranged for a specialist consultation this morning. Dr. Howard Klein from our research division is flying in from Boston. He's the leading expert on thorn familial epilepsy. You flew someone in from Boston? Maya couldn't keep the edge from her voice. Without consulting me? I'm sorry, Leo said immediately, recognizing his misstep. I should have discussed it with you first. I was focused on getting Lily the best possible care, and Dr. Klein's expertise is unmatched in this field. Before Maya could respond, a nurse entered with medication for Lily, creating a momentary distraction. As Lily dutifully took the pills with apple juice, Maya used the opportunity to collect herself, to push back against the instinctive resistance she felt toward Leo's intervention. The rational part of her recognized that he was leveraging his resources to help their daughter. The emotional part, the part that had protected her through years of struggle, bristled at the ease with which he deployed wealth and influence, making decisions that should have been discussed between them. When is Dr. Klein arriving? She asked when the nurse had left, her tone carefully neutral. Around 11, Leo replied, watching her cautiously as if gauging her reaction. He'll review Lily's case and suggest any modifications to the treatment protocol. And after that, what's your plan, Leo? The question encompassed far more than just the medical consultation, and they both knew it. Leo glanced at Lily, who was happily folding another piece of paper, apparently oblivious to the tension between the adults. Perhaps we should discuss this outside. Maya nodded, standing and smoothing her rumpled clothes. Lily, honey, Mommy, and Leo need to talk about some grown-up things. We'll be right outside the door where you can see us through the window, okay? Okay, Lily agreed easily, her focus on the paper fox taking shape beneath her fingers. Are you talking about me staying at Leo's house? Because he said he has a swimming pool, and maybe I could learn to swim when my seizures get better. The innocent question caught both adults off guard. Maya shot Leo a sharp look that clearly demanded an explanation. I didn't, Leo began, following her into the hallway. I never suggested she would stay with me. She asked if I had a pool, and I said yes, and that swimming is actually good exercise for people with our condition. That's all. Our condition, Maya repeated, noting the unconscious phrasing. You're already claiming her. She is my daughter, Leo replied quietly. Biologically, undeniably. But I understand that biology doesn't automatically grant rights. I haven't earned a place in her life yet. The simple acknowledgement that parenthood was earned, not merely claimed, surprised Maya. She had expected entitlement, perhaps legal threats, certainly the leverage of financial resources, not this humble recognition of her primary place in Lily's life. What do you want, Leo? She asked directly, leaning against the wall outside Lily's room. Beyond getting her proper medical care, what's your endgame here? There is no endgame, Leo replied, meeting her gaze steadily. No strategy, no hidden agenda. I want to be part of my daughter's life in whatever capacity you deem appropriate. I want to support her financially, emotionally, practically. I want to make up for the 7 years I missed, knowing full well that's impossible. And me? What do you want from me? The question hung between them, loaded with unspoken possibilities. Leo seemed to consider his words carefully before responding. Forgiveness would be asking too much, he said finally. Understanding, perhaps, of why I made the choices I did. And eventually, a functional co-parenting relationship that puts Lily's needs first. That's all I have any right to ask for. That's all. The sarcasm in Maya's tone couldn't quite mask the genuine question beneath. I didn't say that's all I want, Leo clarified, his voice dropping slightly. I said that's all I have any right to ask for. The distinction was significant, offering a glimpse of feelings he wasn't presumptuous enough to express directly. Before Maya could respond, her phone buzzed with a text message. Glancing at the screen, she frowned at the unfamiliar number. What is it? Leo asked, noting her expression. Nothing, just a wrong number. She slipped the phone back into her pocket, but not before Leo caught a glimpse of the message displayed on the screen. Maya, his voice had changed, tension evident in every syllable. What did that message say? It's nothing. Please, let me see it. Something in his tone, urgency rather than command, made her retrieve the phone, then reluctantly show him the screen. The message was brief but chilling. How's the girl doing? Shame about her seizures. Genetics can be so unpredictable. Say hello to Leo for me. H. Leo's face drained of color as he read the text. Harlow, he said, the name emerging as a barely audible whisper. He knows about Lily. How could he possibly know? Maya demanded, fear threading through her confusion. We only just found each other again yesterday. Hospital records, pharmaceutical orders, any number of data points someone with his connections could access. Leo ran a hand through his hair, agitation evident in every line of his body. Harlow has always had sources everywhere. It's how he maintains leverage. Why would he care about our daughter? About us reconnecting? Because I'm about to launch a major initiative that threatens his business interests, Leo explained grimly. An affordable medication program that would undercut the pricing model his research group relies on. The announcement is scheduled for next week. And you think he'd use a child to interfere with a business matter? Maya couldn't keep the disbelief from her voice. I know he would, Leo's certainty was chilling. He's already proven there's no line he won't cross. Through the window, they could see Lily still happily creating paper animals, blissfully unaware of the tension developing outside her room. Maya felt a primal surge of maternal protectiveness coupled with an unfamiliar sensation, the knowledge that she wasn't facing this threat alone. What do we do? She asked, practical concerns overriding her lingering reservations about Leo. First, we ensure Lily's safety. I'll arrange for security personnel. Discreetly, Leo was already typing on his phone, his movements precise and focused. Then we accelerate the medication program announcement. Harlow is hoping to disrupt it by threatening what I care about most. He threatened me 8 years ago to manipulate you, Maya observed, the pieces connecting in her mind. Now he's threatening Lily for the same reason. Except this time, I'm not running away, Leo stated, his expression hardening into something Maya had never seen before, a glimpse of the ruthless determination that had built a pharmaceutical empire from nothing. This time, we fight back. We? Maya questioned, not missing the plural pronoun. If you'll stand with me, Leo's gaze met hers directly, no pretense or manipulation, just an honest request for alliance. I understand if you want to keep Lily away from all this. I'll support whatever decision you make about her safety. The offer to prioritize Lily's well-being above his own interests, to defer to her judgment as Lily's mother, cemented something in Maya's mind. Whatever else had happened between them, whatever pain and misunderstanding had separated them for 8 years, Leo Thorne was genuinely committed to their daughter's welfare. I'm not running either, she decided, straightening her shoulders. Lily and I have built a life here. We're not going to be chased away by threats. Relief and admiration mingled in Leo's expression. Thank you, he said simply. We're stronger together against him. That doesn't mean I've forgiven you, Maya clarified, needing to establish boundaries even in this moment of alliance, or that I'm ready for whatever was once between us to resume. I understand, Leo assured her. One crisis at a time. Their conversation was interrupted by the arrival of Dr. Klein, a distinguished-looking man in his 50s who greeted Leo with the familiar respect of a longtime colleague. After introductions and a brief explanation of the situation, medical aspects only, with no mention of Harlow's threat, they returned to Lily's room for the consultation. Dr. Klein's examination was thorough but gentle, his manner with Lily both professional and warmly engaging. He reviewed the test results, asked detailed questions about previous symptoms and treatments, and observed Lily's neurological responses with expert attention. The genetic markers are definitive, he confirmed when the examination was complete. Classic Thorne familial epilepsy with the characteristic hypersensitivity to standard anticonvulsants. And is it treatable? Maya asked, medical training giving way to maternal concern. Absolutely, Dr. Klein assured her. With the specialized protocol we've developed, most patients achieve near-normal neurological function within weeks. By adolescence, many show complete remission of symptoms. Like you did, Maya said to Leo, remembering his earlier mention of his condition improving around age 14. Similar, though the treatments available to me were far less sophisticated, Leo explained. Lily's prognosis is significantly better with current medications. I'd like to enroll her in our research registry with your permission, Dr. Klein added, addressing Maya directly. The data from her case would help refine treatments for other children with the same condition. Maya hesitated, protective instincts flaring. What would that involve? Regular monitoring, quarterly checkups, and anonymized data collection, Dr. Klein explained. No experimental treatments, just tracking her response to the established protocol. And of course, all her medications would be provided at no cost as part of the program. The offer was generous, practically and medically sound, with no apparent strings attached. Yet Maya couldn't shake the sensation of being gradually drawn into Leo's world, a world of privilege, connections, and resources she'd managed without for so long. I'll think about it, she said finally. After Lily is stable and home. Of course, Dr. Klein agreed easily. There's no rush on that decision. For now, I'm recommending a modified release of the primary anticonvulsant calibrated specifically for Lily's weight and age. As the consultation continued, Maya found herself watching Leo interact with Dr. Klein, noting the easy authority he commanded and the genuine respect with which his expertise was treated. This was a different man than the struggling graduate student she'd known 8 years ago, more confident certainly, but also more purposeful in his focus. When Dr. Klein departed, promising to coordinate with Dr. Winters on the final discharge plan, an awkward silence fell between them. Lily had dozed off during the examination, the morning's excitement and medication combining to overcome her usual energy. Your company seems impressive, Maya said finally, breaking the silence. Specialized medications, research registries, flying experts across the country for consultations. It's grown faster than I anticipated, Leo acknowledged, a hint of discomfort in his expression at what might have sounded like boasting. Focusing on rare conditions created unexpected market advantages. And making them affordable, is that really sustainable from a business perspective? The question wasn't accusatory but genuinely curious. Her limited experience with pharmaceutical companies suggested profit margins always took precedence over accessibility. It requires creative financing models, Leo admitted. Insurance partnerships, research grants, strategic reinvestment of profits. But yes, it's sustainable. He hesitated, then added, actually, the breakthrough came from a research paper I read about novel pricing approaches for essential medications, published by a marine biology student named M. Rivera about 8 years ago. Maya stared at him, momentarily speechless. My paper. The one I submitted right before. Right before I left, Leo confirmed quietly. I found it in an interdisciplinary journal 6 months later. The author's name caught my attention immediately. You built your company's financial model on my research? Disbelief colored her tone. Your approach was brilliant, Maya, a hybrid system that balanced profit requirements with ethical pricing imperatives. Genuine admiration filled his voice. I've always given your paper credit in company documents, cited it in every presentation about our affordability initiative. I never knew, she murmured, struggling to process this unexpected connection. I assumed that paper disappeared into academic obscurity like most student publications. It became the foundation of something that's helped thousands of patients access medications they couldn't otherwise afford, Leo told her. Your work has made a difference, even if you didn't know it. The revelation sent Maya's thoughts spinning in new directions. All these years, she'd viewed her interrupted doctoral education as a dead end, a path permanently closed by pregnancy and single parenthood. To discover that her research had continued to have impact, had actually shaped the policies of a major pharmaceutical company, offered a different perspective on the years she'd spent away from academic medicine. Before she could formulate a response, her phone buzzed again. Another text message from the same unknown number. The launch event for the Affordable Medication Initiative would make a perfect target. So many important people in one place. Would be a shame if something happened to disrupt it. Unless Leo reconsiders, of course. She showed the message to Leo without comment, watching his expression harden as he read it. He's escalating quickly, Leo observed, his voice tightly controlled. The launch event isn't public knowledge yet. What does he want you to reconsider? Maya asked, fear for Lily mingling with growing anger at being targeted by this unseen threat. The entire initiative, most likely, it threatens his research funding model directly, Leo's jaw tightened. Harlow's group specializes in securing patents for essential medications and then controlling access through exclusivity agreements. Our program would create affordable alternatives for many of his most profitable research streams. So this is about money, Maya concluded bitterly. Just like 8 years ago, he's threatening people's lives for profit margins. It's always been about money and control with Harlow, Leo's expression darkened further. 8 years ago, he saw you as a distraction from my research potential. Now he sees Lily as leverage against me. What are you going to do? Not what he expects, Leo replied, sudden determination replacing the tension in his features. Harlow anticipates one of two responses. Either I cancel the initiative to protect you and Lily, or I proceed but keep you both at a safe distance, effectively separating us again. And instead, I'd like to offer you a position, Leo said, the proposal clearly spontaneous rather than calculated. As chief consultant on the Affordable Medication Initiative, specifically focusing on the pediatric applications. Maya blinked, momentarily thrown by the unexpected suggestion. A job offer? Now. Are you serious? Completely serious, Leo confirmed, warming to the idea as he spoke. Your original research inspired the program. Who better to help implement it? Plus, it would allow you to work directly with the team developing Lily's treatments, giving you insight and input into her care. And coincidentally keeps us close to you, under your company's security umbrella, Maya observed, though without the accusation that might have colored such an observation previously. That's a secondary benefit, Leo acknowledged honestly. But the offer stands on its own merits. Your background in both marine biochemistry and pharmaceutical economics makes you uniquely qualified. The position would include flexible hours to accommodate Lily's needs, competitive salary and benefits, and optional completion of your doctoral degree if that's still something you want. The offer was compelling, professionally, financially, and practically. After years of piecing together part-time work while caring for Lily, the stability and opportunity Leo described represented everything she'd been working toward. Yet accepting felt dangerously like surrendering the independence she'd fought so hard to maintain. I need to think about it, she said, unwilling to make such a significant decision in the emotional chaos of the hospital room. After Lily is home and stable. Of course, Leo agreed immediately. There's no deadline. Just consider it. Their conversation was interrupted by Lily stirring awake, immediate needs taking precedence over future plans. The remainder of the day passed in a blur of medical evaluations, discharge preparations, and practical arrangements for Lily's continued treatment at home. By evening, Dr. Winters had confirmed that Lily could be released the following morning, provided her condition remained stable overnight and appropriate home care was arranged. The specialized medication had produced remarkable improvement, reducing seizure activity to nearly normal levels. I've coordinated with Dr. Klein on the home treatment protocol, Dr. Winters explained as she completed her final evaluation for the day. It's comprehensive but manageable, daily maintenance medications, a specialized rescue treatment for emergencies, and a monitoring system that will alert you to any concerning changes in her neurological patterns. And the cost? Maya asked automatically, years of financial struggle making the question instinctive. Dr. Winters glanced briefly at Leo before responding. The entire protocol is covered under a special patient support program. There will be no out-of-pocket expenses. Maya didn't need to ask who had arranged this coverage. Leo's expression remained carefully neutral, neither seeking credit nor apologizing for the intervention. It was simply a fact. He had the resources to ensure their daughter received optimal care, and he had deployed those resources without hesitation. As evening settled into night, the hospital room took on the hushed quality of shared vigilance. Lily slept peacefully, her breathing easier than it had been in months. Leo had arranged for food to be delivered from a nearby restaurant, a significant improvement over standard hospital fare, which they ate in companionable silence. You should go home and rest, Maya suggested as they finished their meal. Get proper sleep in an actual bed. I'll stay with Lily tonight. I'd rather stay, Leo replied simply. Unless you prefer I leave. The offer to depart if she requested it, to respect her space and authority even in this moment of crisis, further eroded Maya's reflexive resistance to his presence. Slowly, through actions rather than words, Leo was demonstrating the changes 8 years had wrought in him. Even when his resources could potentially provide advantages she couldn't access alone, he was careful to defer to her judgment. You can stay, she conceded, but you should at least change clothes. You've been wearing the same suit for 2 days. Leo glanced down at his rumpled attire with a rueful smile. Fair point. My driver could bring some things from the hotel. Hotel? I assumed you had a place here in Bayshore. I maintain a corporate apartment downtown for business visits, but I've been staying at the Harbor View Hotel this trip. He hesitated, then added, I was planning to look at properties, actually, something permanent in the area. The implication was clear. He intended to establish a presence near Lily regardless of how their personal relationship developed. Not an impulsive decision made in the emotion of the moment, but a concrete commitment to ongoing involvement in their daughter's life. The neighborhood near Lily's school has nice family homes, Maya found herself saying, surprising herself with the constructive suggestion. Good access to parks, decent commute to downtown. "I'll look into it," Leo replied, careful not to overreact to what represented a significant shift in her position, from resistance to tentative acceptance of his presence in their lives. The evening deepened into night, hospital sounds diminishing to the soft beep of monitors and the occasional squeak of nurses' shoes in the corridor. Leo had changed into the casual clothes his driver had delivered, looking more like the man Maya had known years ago in jeans and a simple button-down shirt than the corporate executive who had emerged from the pharmacy office. "Tell me about her," Leo said softly, nodding toward Lily's sleeping form. "These years I've missed. What was she like as a baby? When did she start walking, talking?" The genuine longing in his voice caught at something in Maya's heart. Whatever else had happened between them, Leo's desire to know their daughter was undeniably real. "She was tiny at birth," Maya began, memories flooding back with bittersweet clarity. 5 pounds, 7 ounces. The doctors were concerned because she was premature. But she was perfect, just small. Maya paused, the pain of old wounds surfacing. Her brother was stillborn. His umbilical cord, there were complications with the emergency C-section. Leo's sharp intake of breath was audible in the quiet room. "Brother? There really were twins?" Maya nodded, the memory still painful despite the years that had passed. "Identical boys. We lost him at 24 weeks. Lily survived, though she spent her first 6 weeks in the NICU." "My God, Maya," Leo's voice broke. "You went through all that alone? The pregnancy, losing a child, the NICU?" "My aunt helped," Maya said simply. "And I did what I had to do." The revelation of the lost twin hung between them, a shared grief, though experienced so differently. For Maya, it had been the traumatic reality of holding one tiny child while mourning another. For Leo, it was the sudden knowledge of a son he would never know, whose existence he'd only just discovered. "I named him Leo," Maya admitted quietly. "It seemed right, somehow. Even after everything." Leo closed his eyes briefly, emotion overwhelming him. When he opened them again, they shone with unshed tears. "Thank you for that," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. "For giving him my name. For fighting for Lily when I wasn't there to fight with you." The raw honesty in his words, the genuine grief for what they had both lost, though in such different ways, cracked something in Maya's carefully maintained composure. For years, she had carried the burden of that loss alone, rarely speaking of the twin who hadn't survived, the son whose absence was a physical ache that never quite subsided. She hardly ever cried, Maya continued after a moment, returning to Leo's original question about Lily. "Just watched everything with those serious eyes." "Your eyes," Leo observed. "Your eyes," Maya corrected gently. "The shape is mine, but the color is yours. Storm gray with those blue flecks around the pupil." "When did she start walking?" 9 months, which the pediatrician said was early. She was determined to move, to explore everything. Maya smiled at the memory. She took her first steps at my aunt's house, tottering from the coffee table to the couch like she'd been planning it for weeks. And talking. Her first word was book at 10 months. By 18 months, she was speaking in simple sentences. Her daycare provider said she'd never seen a child so verbal so young. "That's definitely your influence," Leo said with a soft laugh. "You always had a way with words." "She's always been curious, always wanted to understand how things work," Maya continued, allowing herself to share these precious memories with the one person who might value them as much as she did. "When she was 3, she took apart the remote control to see what was inside. I was furious until I realized she was trying to put it back together in the right order." An engineer in the making, Leo observed, pride evident in his voice despite having no direct role in fostering this trait. "Maybe, though lately she's been talking about being a doctor," Maya hesitated, then added, "she says she wants to help people who can't breathe like her." The simple statement hung between them, laden with shared understanding of the ways in which their daughter had been shaped by her medical condition, by the struggles she'd faced even at her young age. Has the epilepsy been severe from the beginning? Leo asked, medical concern replacing nostalgic curiosity. It started around her second birthday, Maya explained. Minor at first, just occasional absence seizures when she had a cold or fever, but it got progressively worse each year. The last 6 months have been particularly difficult, with more frequent seizures and less response to standard treatments. If I had known, Leo said quietly, regret evident in every line of his face. If I had known about her, about the epilepsy. You would have helped, Maya completed the thought, no longer doubting this fundamental truth. I know that now. The simple acknowledgement that she believed his intentions toward their daughter were, and would have been, good represented a significant shift in their cautious rebuilding of trust. Not forgiveness, not yet, but recognition of his genuine commitment to Lily's welfare. We all face moments when we must choose between holding on to past wounds or opening ourselves to new possibilities. Has someone's actions ever challenged your perception of them? Like and share this video if you believe that sometimes, the most profound healing comes when we're forced to see beyond our own pain to what might be possible. Morning brought discharge paperwork, final instructions, and the peculiar combination of relief and anxiety that accompanies leaving hospital safety for home management of a medical condition. Lily, energized by the prospect of returning home, chattered excitedly about showing Leo her room, her toys, her collection of seashells gathered from the beach near their apartment. "And you can see my fish," she exclaimed as a nurse removed her foreline. "His name is Captain Bubbles, and he's blue and white, and he does flip sometimes when I feed him." "I'd like that very much," Leo replied, carefully neutral as he glanced at Maya for confirmation that this invitation was acceptable. "Maybe in a few days when you're feeling stronger," Maya suggested, neither confirming nor denying Leo's welcome in their home. "Right now, the most important thing is getting you settled and comfortable." The compromise seemed to satisfy both Lily and Leo, though Maya noted the flash of disappointment quickly masked in Leo's expression. He had been scrupulously careful not to presume or push his way into their lives, respecting the boundaries she established even as those boundaries began to soften. As they prepared to leave, Dr. Winters arrived with final discharge instructions and a startling proposal. "We've been discussing Lily's case," she began, gesturing to include Dr. Klein, who had returned for the discharge evaluation. "Given the specific genetic nature of her condition, we believe she would be an ideal candidate for the pediatric research program at Thorne Laboratories." "What kind of research program?" Maya asked immediately, protective instincts flaring. "Not experimental treatments," Dr. Klein clarified quickly. "A comprehensive monitoring and optimization program designed specifically for children with Thorne familial epilepsy. The goal is to fine-tune medication dosages, track developmental progress, and establish personalized therapeutic approaches. The potential benefits for Lily would be significant," Dr. Winters added. "Access to the most advanced treatments, regular consultation with specialists, and a support network of families dealing with the same condition." Maya glanced at Leo, whose expression remained carefully neutral despite the obvious connection to his company. "Did you arrange this?" "I mentioned Lily's case to our pediatric research division," he admitted. "But the recommendation comes directly from the medical team based on her specific diagnostic profile." "There's no pressure, Maya. It's entirely your decision." The lack of manipulation or persuasion in his tone reinforced what Maya had begun to recognize, Leo's commitment to respecting her authority as Lily's mother, even when his resources could potentially provide advantages she couldn't access alone. "Can I think about it?" she asked, unwilling to make such a significant decision in the emotional context of hospital discharge. "After we've settled back at home?" "Of course," Dr. Klein agreed immediately. "The program is ongoing, with new participants added quarterly. Take whatever time you need to consider." As they prepared to leave the hospital, a new complication emerged. Leo's security team, discreetly positioned throughout the facility, reported suspicious activity near the exits, individuals taking photographs, possibly conducting surveillance. "Harlow?" Maya asked quietly, ensuring Lily couldn't overhear as she gathered her origami animals into a small bag a nurse had provided. Most likely, Leo confirmed grimly. My security chief recommends we use a service entrance and alternate vehicles to avoid being followed. Followed where? We're going home. That's exactly the problem. Leo's expression was troubled. If Harlow's people are watching the hospital, they could easily follow us to your apartment. I'm concerned about your safety there. The reality of the threat posed by Professor Harlow, which had seemed abstract in the protective cocoon of the hospital, suddenly crystallized for Maya. This wasn't just about business competition or personal grudges, it was about a man willing to threaten a child to achieve his objectives. What are you suggesting? She asked, the practical need for security temporarily overriding her concerns about maintaining independence. A secure location, just until we resolve the situation with Harlow, Leo proposed carefully. My corporate apartment has comprehensive security systems and controlled access. Or a hotel suite, if you prefer neutral territory. The decision was difficult but necessary. Lily's safety had to take precedence over her reluctance to accept Leo's assistance or the appearance of reconciliation such an arrangement might create. The hotel, she decided finally. Just for a few days, until we figure out a more permanent solution. Relief washed over Leo's features. Thank you for trusting me with this. I promise we'll resolve the situation with Harlow quickly. As they made their way through the hospital service corridors, Lily held both their hands, creating a physical representation of their tentative new family configuration. Her innocent acceptance of Leo's presence, her excitement about the adventure of staying in a hotel, contrasted sharply with the adult's awareness of the threat that necessitated these precautions. The Harbor View Hotel welcomed them with the discreet efficiency that characterized truly excellent hotels. Within an hour, they were settled in a spacious two-bedroom suite. Room service had delivered a child-friendly lunch, and Leo's security team had established protocols for their protection. The launch event for the Affordable Medication Initiative is scheduled for Monday, Leo explained once Lily was engrossed in the animated movie playing on the enormous television. 3 days from now. That's our opportunity to neutralize Harlow's threat permanently. How? Maya asked, settling onto the sofa beside him, far enough for propriety but close enough for private conversation. He seems determined to stop the initiative. By removing his leverage, Leo replied, his expression hardening with resolve. Harlow believes he can force me to choose between the initiative and your safety. What he doesn't realize is that I've spent 8 years preparing for this confrontation. What does that mean, exactly? Leo hesitated, clearly weighing how much to reveal. I've been documenting Harlow's research practices since our partnership dissolved. Price fixing, patent manipulation, illegal suppression of generic alternatives, the full spectrum of pharmaceutical industry abuses. The evidence goes well beyond ethical concerns into criminal territory. And you've just been sitting on this information? Why? Strategic timing, Leo explained. Releasing it piecemeal would allow him to mitigate the damage, deploy his considerable resources to counteract each revelation. But releasing everything simultaneously, with the full weight of the Affordable Medication Initiative as an immediate alternative to his predatory practices. It would destroy him, Maya completed the thought, understanding dawning, both reputationally and financially. Precisely. His research group's funding would collapse, regulatory investigations would begin immediately, and most importantly, his influence would evaporate overnight. The calculated precision of the plan revealed a side of Leo that Maya had glimpsed but never fully appreciated during their previous relationship, the strategic brilliance that had enabled him to build a pharmaceutical empire from nothing in just 8 years. When were you planning to release this information? She asked. It was scheduled as Phase 2 of the initiative, approximately 3 months after the launch, Leo admitted. But Harlow's threats have accelerated the timeline. We'll release everything at Monday's event. What about the threat to the event itself? His text mentioned disruption. Empty intimidation, Leo asserted with confidence. Harlow operates through manipulation and leverage, not direct action. The security at the venue is impenetrable, and now that we're aware of potential issues, additional precautions will be implemented. As they continued discussing the details of the plan, Maya found herself slipping into a collaborative rhythm with Leo that felt both familiar and new. The intellectual connection that had initially drawn them together reasserted itself naturally, their complementary thinking styles creating a problem-solving synergy she had experienced with few others. The most effective counter to Harlow's strategy is public exposure, she observed, medical training merging with practical insight, not just of his business practices, but of his personal threats against us. If the attendees at Monday's event understood that the affordable medication program was being actively sabotaged through threats against a child with a seizure disorder. The exact condition the initiative's pediatric program is designed to address, Leo completed, admiration evident in his expression. That's brilliant, Maya. The narrative becomes impossible for him to counter. But it means going public about Lily, she pointed out, protective instincts resurging, about our past, our connection, everything. Only if you're comfortable with that, Leo assured her immediately. We can present the case study anonymously, protect your identities while still conveying the essential message. The consideration for her privacy, for Lily's well-being above the strategic advantage of a more personal narrative, further reinforced Maya's evolving perception of the man Leo had become, not the impulsive graduate student who had once prioritized research potential above all else, but someone who weighed human factors alongside strategic ones. Let me think about it, she said, not dismissing the idea outright as she might have days earlier. It's a lot to process. Of course. Leo's gaze shifted to Lily, who had fallen asleep on the sofa, the excitement of hospital discharge and hotel relocation finally catching up with her. She's extraordinary, Maya. You've done an amazing job raising her. The simple compliment, delivered without agenda or expectation, touched Maya deeply. For years, she had carried the full weight of parenthood alone, rarely receiving acknowledgement for the sacrifices she'd made or the successes she'd achieved with Lily. It hasn't been easy, she admitted quietly. Working, studying, trying to be everything she needed. There were nights I thought I couldn't do it anymore, that I was failing her by not being able to provide what other children had. You gave her what matters most, Leo said with quiet certainty. Stability, love, your unwavering presence. Everything I've seen in her, her confidence, her kindness, her resilience, those come from you. She has your traits too, Maya found herself acknowledging. Your focus, your analytical mind. Even your smile. I see you in her every day, have done from the moment she was born. She paused, then added softly, it made it harder sometimes, having that constant reminder. I'm sorry, Leo said simply, the words encompassing far more than could be directly expressed, for all of it, the years she'd struggled alone, the support she should have had, the choices that had separated them. In that quiet moment, with their sleeping daughter between them and the weight of 8 years of separation beginning to lift, Maya felt something shift within her. Not forgiveness, not yet, but the possibility that forgiveness might eventually come, that understanding might lead to acceptance, and acceptance to a new beginning neither of them could have anticipated days earlier. We should move her to bed, Maya said, practical concerns temporarily displacing deeper emotional currents. She'll be more comfortable there. Together, they carefully lifted Lily from the sofa, working in wordless coordination to carry her to the second bedroom where a child-sized bed had been prepared. As they tucked her in, her eyes fluttered open briefly. Daddy, she murmured sleepily, the word emerging naturally, without conscious thought. Leo froze, his hand still resting lightly on the blanket he'd been adjusting. His eyes met Maya's over their daughter's head, emotion raw and unguarded in his expression. Yes, sweetheart, he managed, his voice barely steadier than Lily's sleep-muddled question. Are you staying with us now? Lily asked, hovering on the edge of wakefulness. For as long as you and your mom want me to, Leo replied, the promise evident in every word. Satisfied with this answer, Lily drifted back to sleep, unaware of the profound impact her simple question had created. Maya motioned for Leo to follow her out of the room, closing the door softly behind them. She called you, Daddy, she said when they were in the living area, stating the obvious because she wasn't sure what else to say. I know. Leo's voice was thick with emotion. I didn't expect that. I haven't asked her to, haven't suggested it. Children are intuitive, Maya observed. They sense things adults try to hide. She's clearly connecting with you. Is that okay? Leo asked, genuine concern in his expression. I don't want to overstep or complicate things for you. The consideration for her feelings, her authority as Lily's primary parent, continued to erode Maya's defensive walls. Whatever else lay between them, Leo's commitment to their daughter's well-being appeared genuine and unwavering. It's okay, she decided after a moment's reflection. She deserves to know her father, to have that relationship if it's something you're genuinely committed to maintaining. I am, Leo assured her with quiet intensity. Not just now, in the excitement of discovery, but for the long term, through homework struggles and teenage rebellion and whatever else lies ahead. I want to be her father in every sense of the word. Then that's what matters, Maya concluded, surprising herself with the certainty she felt. Everything else, our past, Harlow's threats, the complications ahead, we'll figure those out one day at a time. As they stood in the quiet hotel suite, their sleeping daughter just beyond the door, the future stretched before them, uncertain in its details but clearer in its direction than either could have imagined days earlier. Not a perfect resolution, not a fairy tale reconciliation, but the beginning of something built on stronger foundations than before, a family, unexpected and unconventional, forging its way forward despite the obstacles that remained. If you've ever had to put aside your own pain for the good of someone you love, you understand the choice Maya faced. Like this video if you believe that true strength sometimes means opening our hearts to new possibilities, even when they come from unexpected sources. The next morning brought a tentative new normal. Leo joined them for breakfast in the suite, where Lily insisted on showing him how she could make science by mixing orange juice and milk to create a curdled concoction that made Maya wince and Leo express theatrical amazement. You're really good at this, Maya observed quietly as they cleaned up breakfast while Lily organized her origami collection on the coffee table. Good at what? Leo asked, genuinely puzzled. Being with her. Playing. Some people have to work at it, but you're natural. Leo's smile held a touch of sadness. I had a lot of practice entertaining myself as a kid. Hospital rooms aren't exactly stimulating environments. You learn to find magic in small things. The simple explanation offered another glimpse into his childhood that Maya had never fully understood during their relationship, the isolation of chronic illness, the coping mechanisms developed out of necessity. It added depth to her understanding of his connection with Lily, who had faced similar challenges. I've been thinking about Harlow, Maya said, changing the subject as she lowered her voice to ensure Lily wouldn't hear. About the launch event. I want to be there. Leo's surprise was evident. You're sure? It would mean public exposure. I'm sure. What he's doing, what he did to us 8 years ago, it needs to be stopped. I don't want another family separated because of his manipulation. And Lily? My aunt can watch her for the evening. She lives an hour away, far enough from Bayshore that Harlow wouldn't think to look there. Leo nodded, understanding the protective calculation. I'll arrange secure transportation for them. There's something else, Maya added, her decision clearly made. I want to accept your job offer. The consultant position. Leo couldn't hide his pleasure, though he was careful not to overreact. You're certain? I don't want you to feel pressured by the current situation. I'm certain. It makes practical sense for Lily's treatment, and professionally, well, it's work I believe in. Work that matters. It is, Leo agreed, genuine passion entering his voice. And your perspective would be invaluable. The initiative needs someone who understands both the science and the human impact. Their planning was interrupted by Lily's excited call from the living room. Mom. Leo. I mean. Dad? Can we go to the beach today? I can see it from the window. Maya and Leo exchanged glances, both recognizing the security complications of a public outing. Before they could respond, Leo's phone chimed with an incoming message. His expression darkened as he read it. "Harlow?" Maya asked, immediately alert. Leo nodded, showing her the screen. "How touching, the little family reunion. Does Lily know her father wanted her terminated? Such a shame about her twin. Perhaps history has a way of correcting mistakes." The blood drained from Maya's face. How could he possibly know about the twin? About the money you sent? "I don't know," Leo admitted, his voice tight with controlled anger. "But this crosses a line. He's taunting us with personal trauma." "It's manipulation," Maya stated, her analytical mind cutting through her emotional response. "He's trying to drive a wedge between us, to bring up the most painful aspects of our past right before the launch event." "You're right," Leo agreed, impressed by her clarity despite the vicious attack. Classic Harlow, identify emotional vulnerabilities and exploit them. "Well, it won't work," Maya declared with unexpected firmness. "He doesn't get to use our son's memory as a weapon." Her use of "our son" struck Leo deeply, an acknowledgement of shared loss that had seemed impossible days ago. Before he could respond, Lily appeared in the doorway, her expression hopeful. "Can we go to the beach?" she repeated. "Please." Maya and Leo exchanged another glance, this one communicating an unspoken agreement. They wouldn't let fear dictate their daughter's experiences. "Yes," Leo answered. "But a special beach. One that's private and safe. With shells?" Lily asked, priorities clear. "The best shells," Leo promised. "And tide pools." An hour later, they were walking along a pristine stretch of beach accessible only through private property, a research preserve owned by Thorne Pharmaceuticals where Maya was surprised to discover she already had clearance. "Your name has been on our authorized researcher list for years," Leo explained as they passed through the security gate. "Since I found your paper." The revelation of this small connection maintained across their years of separation added another layer to their complex history, evidence that even while apart, threads had connected them in ways neither had recognized. The beach was exactly as promised, isolated, beautiful, and teeming with marine life in protected tide pools that had Lily squealing with delight as she discovered starfish, sea anemones, and tiny crabs in crystal-clear water. As Lily explored under Maya's watchful eye, Leo walked a short distance away, making calls to finalize security arrangements for the launch event. When he returned, his expression was resolute. "Everything set for Monday," he confirmed. "The evidence against Harlow is prepared, security has been doubled, and we've added a special segment to address predatory practices in academic research funding." "Perfect timing," Maya observed, watching Lily examine a sand dollar with scientific precision. "She looks like you know, that exact expression of total concentration. I used to see it when you were working in the lab." Leo followed her gaze, emotion evident in his voice when he spoke. "I missed so much. 7 years of moments like this." "Yes, you did," Maya acknowledged, not sugarcoating the reality. "But you're here now, and that matters." A comfortable silence settled between them as they watched their daughter. A shared appreciation for the present moment that required no words. "I found my missing piece," Lily called suddenly, holding up a spiral shell with distinctive markings. "Now my collection has all the special ones from your book." The Nisna Turbo, Leo identified, genuine enthusiasm lighting his features as he knelt beside her. "That's incredibly rare in these waters. May I see?" As Lily proudly displayed her find, Maya watched their interaction with a strange mixture of emotions, sadness for the years lost, gratitude for this unexpected second chance, and a growing acknowledgement that perhaps life had brought them back together for a reason that transcended their past mistakes. "Mom, Dad says we can come back next weekend to see the dolphin pod that lives offshore," Lily reported, her casual use of "Dad" no longer tentative or questioning. "He says they have babies right now." "Does he now?" Maya raised an eyebrow at Leo, who had the grace to look slightly abashed at making plans without consulting her. If that works for your schedule, he amended quickly. I should have checked with you first. It's fine, Maya assured him, surprised to realize she meant it. Next weekend sounds perfect. The remainder of the day passed in a peaceful rhythm of exploration and discovery. Lily's energy seemed boundless, her seizure episode at the hospital seemingly forgotten as she darted from tide pool to tide pool, collecting treasures and bombarding Leo with questions about marine creatures that he answered with patient enthusiasm. By late afternoon, they had returned to the hotel suite, where Lily's excitement finally gave way to exhaustion. She fell asleep during the nature documentary Leo had suggested, her head resting against his shoulder in a gesture of unconscious trust that affected both adults deeply. I should move her to bed, Leo whispered, reluctant to disturb the moment but aware of Maya watching them. In a minute, Maya replied, her phone in hand. I want to remember this. She took a photo quietly, capturing the image of father and daughter, their matching profiles, the protective way Leo's arm curved around Lily's shoulders, the peaceful expression on their daughter's face. Our first family picture, Leo observed softly as Maya showed him the image. At least, of the three of us. The unspoken acknowledgement of their lost son hung between them, the family that might have been, with 2 children instead of 1. But there was no bitterness in the observation, only a quiet acceptance of their shared history with all its joy and pain. After Lily was settled in bed, they returned to the living room, the atmosphere between them charged with unspoken questions. Leo was the first to break the silence. There's something I need to tell you, he said, his expression serious. Something about the money I sent after I left. Maya tensed visibly. I don't want to talk about that. I understand, but this is important. Leo's voice was gentle but insistent. The note that came with it, I didn't write it. What? Confusion replaced defensiveness in Maya's expression. I did send money, Leo acknowledged. When I realized I couldn't return to you because of Harlow's threats, I wanted to make sure you were taken care of. I arranged an anonymous transfer through a lawyer. But the note suggesting you take care of the problem, that wasn't from me. If you didn't write it, then who did? Harlow. Leo's certainty was absolute. He must have intercepted the communication, added his own message. It fits his pattern, creating maximum damage, ensuring you would never try to find me. Maya sat back, absorbing this new information. The note had been the most painful part of Leo's abandonment, the cold suggestion that their child was a problem to be eliminated. To discover now that those words hadn't come from him altered her understanding of that traumatic time. I tore up the check, she said finally. I couldn't bear to touch money that came with that message. I know you did, Leo replied. The funds were never claimed. I've kept them in a trust all these years, with interest. It's enough for Lily's college education and then some. The revelation of this long-term provision, made when he had no idea if he would ever find them again, struck Maya deeply. It spoke to an aspect of Leo's character she had once loved, his capacity to plan for others' welfare, to honor commitments even without recognition. Why are you telling me this now? She asked. Because Harlow's message mentioned the twin, the money. He's trying to use our most painful memories against us. I couldn't let you continue believing I had asked you to terminate the pregnancy. That was never what I wanted. What did you want? The question emerged quietly, carrying 8 years of uncertainty. Leo met her gaze directly. If I had known about the pregnancy, I would have found another way to protect you from Harlow. I would never have left. And when I learned that Harlow had threatened you, I tried to return, only to find you gone. We keep circling back to the same point, Maya observed. Both of us making decisions we thought would protect ourselves, only to create more pain. Yes, Leo agreed. But maybe that's how we find our way forward, by finally understanding the choices we made and why we made them. The conversation was interrupted by a soft cry from Lily's room. Maya was on her feet instantly, maternal instincts alert, with Leo close behind. They found Lily sitting up in bed, her breathing slightly labored. Seizure. Leo asked quietly as Maya sat on the edge of the bed, taking Lily's pulse. No, Maya shook her head. Nightmare, I think. She gets them sometimes after hospital stays. Bad dream, sweetheart, she asked, brushing Lily's hair back from her forehead. Lily nodded, her eyes wide in the dim light. The machine monsters were chasing me. The beeping ones from the hospital. Those are pretty scary, Leo acknowledged, sitting on the other side of the bed. I used to have the same nightmare when I was your age. You did? Lily's focus immediately shifted to this connection. Absolutely. Hospital machines can sound like monsters in the dark. How did you make them go away? Lily asked, her voice small but curious. I had a special trick, Leo confided. Want to know what it is? Lily nodded eagerly, already distracted from her fear. I would imagine the beeps were actually whale songs, like the recordings we heard at the beach today. Whales talking to each other across the ocean. Much less scary than monsters, right? Whale songs, Lily repeated, considering this transformation. I like whales. Me too, Leo smiled. And the best part about whale songs is that they help you have good dreams instead of scary ones. Can you stay until I fall asleep? Lily asked, addressing both of them. Both of you? Maya and Leo exchanged glances, a silent communication passing between them, the shared recognition of a parental milestone, a moment when both their presences were requested for comfort. Of course we can, Maya answered, settling more comfortably on the bed. Leo stretched out on the other side, and Lily nestled between them, secure in the protection of both parents for the first time in her life. Within minutes, her breathing deepened into the rhythm of sleep, but neither adult moved immediately, savoring the peaceful moment. You're good at this, Maya whispered, echoing her earlier observation. The nightmare trick was brilliant. Experience, Leo replied simply. My mother used to do the same for me, transform scary things into manageable ones. They carefully extracted themselves once Lily was deeply asleep, returning to the living room where their interrupted conversation awaited. But the emotional tenor had shifted, softened by the shared parenting moment they had just experienced. We should try to get some rest too, Maya suggested, glancing at the clock that showed nearly midnight. Tomorrow we'll be busy with preparations for Monday's event. Leo nodded, moving toward the sofa that had been prepared with bedding for him. You're right. Good night, Maya. Good night, Leo. As she turned toward the master bedroom, Maya paused at the door. For what it's worth, I believe you, about the note, about wanting to come back. I think I've known the truth somewhere deep down for a long time. I just wasn't ready to accept it. The simple statement of belief, offered without prompting, affected Leo more profoundly than any formal forgiveness could have. It represented the first crack in the wall of mistrust that had separated them for 8 years, not a complete reconciliation, but a beginning. Thank you, he said simply, understanding the magnitude of what she was offering. Monday arrived with crystalline clarity, both in the blue sky visible through the hotel windows and in the certainty of the path before them. Maya had spoken with her aunt, who readily agreed to take Lily for the evening, clearly delighted by the unexpected family developments Maya had hesitantly shared with her. I always knew that boy wasn't the villain you made him out to be, Aunt Ellie had declared with the confident insight of the elderly. Nobody looks at a woman the way he looked at you if they're planning to abandon her. The comment had stayed with Maya throughout the morning as they prepared for the event. Leo had arranged for a security team to transport Lily to her aunt's home in the nearby coastal town of Seacliff, far enough removed from Bayshore to be safely off Harlow's radar. Are you nervous? Leo asked as they drove toward the Bayshore Convention Center where the launch event would be held. Maya considered the question, surprised by her own answer. Not about confronting Harlow. He spent 8 years affecting our lives from the shadows. It's time to bring everything into the light. But you are nervous about something, Leo observed, reading her expression with the familiarity that had once been second nature between them. About us, Maya admitted. About what happens after tonight. We've been in crisis mode since we found each other again, first Lily's medical emergency, then Harlow's threats. What happens when those immediate pressures are gone? Where does that leave us? Leo was quiet for a moment, choosing his words carefully. Wherever you want it to leave us, Maya. I won't pretend I don't have hopes, but I also won't pressure you. You and Lily are my priority, in whatever configuration works best for all of us. The answer was both exactly what she needed to hear and frustratingly open-ended, a reflection of the man Leo had become, willing to accept boundaries but clear about his own desires. Let's get through tonight first, Maya decided, watching the convention center grow larger through the car window. One crisis at a time, remember. The venue was already filling with attendees when they arrived, medical professionals, pharmaceutical representatives, research scientists, and media, all gathered to witness the launch of Thorne Pharmaceuticals' Affordable Medication Initiative. Security was visibly present but discreetly positioned, creating an atmosphere of safety without tension. As they entered through a private access point, Leo was immediately approached by his executive team, who greeted Maya with respectful curiosity. She recognized the moment when they registered her importance to Leo, not just as a consultant but as someone whose presence changed his entire demeanor. The presentation is set to begin in 30 minutes, his chief of operations informed them. We've incorporated the additional slides about predatory research practices as you requested. And security has identified Professor Harlow. He's in the main hall, third row center. He actually came, Maya said, surprised despite herself. Of course he did, Leo replied grimly. He wouldn't miss the opportunity to witness what he believes will be my capitulation to his threats. He's in for quite a surprise, Maya observed, a steely determination entering her voice. The next half hour passed in a flurry of final preparations. Maya reviewed her portion of the presentation, making minor adjustments to emphasize the human impact of affordable medication access. Leo conferred with security, ensuring all evidence against Harlow was ready for release at the appropriate moment. As they prepared to take the stage, Leo paused, turning to Maya with unexpected vulnerability in his expression. Whatever happens out there, I want you to know something, he said quietly. Finding you and Lily again, it's the best thing that's ever happened to me. Even with all the complications, all the pain of the past. These last few days have meant everything. The simple honesty of the statement caught Maya off guard. For all their conversations about Lily, about Harlow, about the practical arrangements of their reconnection, they had carefully avoided addressing the emotional current that still flowed between them, the chemistry that had once been so powerful it had frightened both of them with its intensity. For me too, she admitted, surprised by her own honesty. Despite everything. A staff member approached, signaling it was time. The moment for further personal revelations had passed, replaced by the professional focus required for what lay ahead. The presentation began conventionally enough, with Leo introducing the Affordable Medication Initiative to enthusiastic applause. He outlined the program's key components, specialized treatments for rare conditions made accessible through innovative pricing models, partnerships with research hospitals, and a particular focus on pediatric applications. And now, Leo said, reaching the crucial transition point, I'd like to introduce our chief consultant for the pediatric program, Dr. Maya Rivera, whose groundbreaking research on pharmaceutical accessibility formed the foundation of our approach. As Maya took the stage, she caught sight of Professor Harlow in the audience, older than she remembered but unmistakable with his silver hair and practiced academic composure. Their eyes met briefly, and she saw the moment of shocked recognition cross his features. Thank you, Leo, Maya began, her voice steady despite the adrenaline coursing through her. The Affordable Medication Initiative represents more than just a business model, it's a fundamental shift in how we approach healthcare access for vulnerable populations, particularly children. She moved smoothly through her prepared remarks, highlighting the program's potential impact using compelling case studies. Then, with a subtle nod to Leo, she reached the critical juncture they had planned. I'd like to share a personal case study that illustrates why this initiative is so vital, Maya continued, her voice taking on a more intimate tone. 7 years ago, my daughter was born with a rare genetic form of epilepsy, one that requires specialized treatment typically priced beyond the reach of most families. A photograph appeared on the screen behind her, Lily in the hospital bed, connected to monitoring equipment, with Leo beside her. The image was powerful in its authenticity, showing both the medical reality and the family connection. This is my daughter, Lily, during a recent seizure episode. And this is her father, who you all know as Leo Thorne. A murmur ran through the audience, the personal revelation clearly unexpected from the normally private CEO. In the third row, Harlow shifted uncomfortably. What you may not know, Maya continued, her gaze now fixed directly on Harlow, is that 8 years ago, when Leo and I were graduate students at Pacific Coast University, we were deliberately separated by someone who saw our relationship as a threat to his research agenda. The murmur grew louder as Leo joined her at the podium, standing shoulder to shoulder in a visible display of unity. Professor Richard Harlow used threats and manipulation to force Leo to leave without explanation, Maya stated clearly, her voice carrying throughout the hall. And when that wasn't enough, he intercepted private communications to ensure we would never reconcile. On the screen, the audio recording began to play, Harlow's voice from 8 years earlier making his threats explicit. The audience fell silent, the only sound the damning evidence of academic misconduct being broadcast throughout the room. The same individual, Leo continued seamlessly, has recently made threats against our daughter's safety in an attempt to prevent this initiative from launching, recognizing that affordable medication access threatens his research group's profit model. A series of text messages appeared on the screen, Harlow's threats displayed for all to see, his mentions of Lily's medical condition, his taunting references to their past. In the audience, Harlow stood abruptly, his face contorted with rage. This is slander. You have no proof these communications came from me. Actually, we do, Leo replied calmly. Digital forensics has traced every message to devices registered to your name. And we have documentation of 8 years of similar patterns, threats against researchers who challenged your methodology, manipulation of patent applications, price fixing on medications developed with public funding. As security personnel moved discreetly toward Harlow, Leo's tone remained measured, professional. This initiative isn't just about making medications affordable, Professor. It's about challenging the systemic abuses that have allowed people like you to profit from suffering. You'll regret this, Harlow snarled, but his threat lacked conviction as he noted the media representatives capturing every moment of his undoing. No, Professor, Maya replied with quiet dignity. The only regret here is that it took 8 years to bring your actions to light. 8 years during which countless families struggled to afford medications that should have been accessible to all. As security escorted a protesting Harlow from the hall, Leo returned to the podium, smoothly transitioning back to the initiative's details. The audience, initially stunned by the personal drama that had unfolded, gradually refocused on the program's substantive elements. By the time the presentation concluded an hour later, the atmosphere had transformed from shocked to inspired. Medical professionals lined up to offer partnerships, media representatives requested interviews, and pharmaceutical industry colleagues, many of whom had suffered under Harlow's influence, came forward with their own stories of intimidation. In the aftermath, as the convention center gradually emptied, Maya and Leo found themselves in a quiet moment backstage, the adrenaline of confrontation giving way to emotional exhaustion. "Are you okay?" Leo asked, noting her pale complexion. "I think so," Maya replied, surprised to find it was true. "It feels liberating, actually. Like setting down a weight I've been carrying for years." "I know exactly what you mean." Leo smiled, the tension visibly draining from his shoulders. "Harlow can't hurt us anymore, can't hurt anyone, really. His academic reputation is finished. What happens now?" Maya asked, the question encompassing far more than just the professional aftermath. "Now," Leo said simply, "we pick up Lily from your aunt's house and begin figuring out what our future looks like, one day at a time, like we agreed." The simplicity of the answer, its focus on their daughter rather than the complex emotions between them, reassured Maya. Whatever else remained unresolved, their shared commitment to Lily provided solid ground beneath their feet. The drive to Seacliff passed in comfortable silence, both of them processing the events of the evening and their implications. When they arrived at Aunt Ellie's cottage, they found Lily happily showcasing her shell collection to her great-aunt, who greeted them with knowing eyes and minimal questions. "Successful evening?" she asked Maya privately as Leo helped Lily gather her belongings. "Very," Maya confirmed. "In every way that matters." "And him?" Aunt Ellie nodded toward Leo. "Is he staying in the picture?" Maya watched as Leo knelt beside Lily, listening with complete attention as she explained the difference between spiral and conical shells. His patience, his genuine interest in their daughter's passions, his careful respect for Maya's boundaries throughout their reconnection, all of it painted a picture of a man very different from the one she had preserved in her painful memories. "Yes," she said finally. "I think he is." The drive back to Bayshore was filled with Lily's excited chatter about her evening with Aunt Ellie, the new shells they'd found on the Seacliff beach, and her ideas for where to display them in their apartment. "Actually," Maya said carefully, "we might need to stay at the hotel for a few more days while we sort some things out." Lily considered this with the practical acceptance of childhood. "Okay. I like the hotel. It has room service." "Indeed it does," Leo laughed. "A crucial consideration." As they pulled up to the Harbor View Hotel, Lily had fallen asleep in the back seat, the excitement of the day finally catching up with her. Leo carried her carefully into the suite and to her bed, where Maya helped change her into pajamas without waking her completely. "Good night, sweetheart," Maya whispered, kissing her daughter's forehead. "Good night, princess," Leo added softly, his hand gently smoothing her dark curls. They stepped out of the bedroom, closing the door partway to allow the hall light to provide gentle illumination. In the living room, the emotional weight of the day finally descended, leaving them both momentarily at a loss for words. "I should let you get some rest," Leo said finally, moving toward the sofa that had been his bed for the past few nights. "Leo," Maya's voice stopped him. "Thank you. For everything you did tonight. For standing up to Harlow, for protecting Lily, for—" She hesitated, "for being the man I thought you were 8 years ago." The simple acknowledgement, that she had once believed in him completely, and was perhaps beginning to again, affected Leo deeply. "I've spent 8 years trying to become worthy of how you once saw me," he admitted quietly. "Even when I thought I'd never have the chance to prove it to you." The honesty of the moment stretched between them, fragile and potent. Maya took a step closer, the distance between them suddenly symbolic of all the years they'd lost. "We can't go back," she said softly. "Too much has happened. We're different people now." "I know," Leo agreed, though disappointment flickered in his eyes. "But maybe," Maya continued, her voice gaining certainty, "maybe we can go forward. Slowly. One day at a time." "I'd like that," Leo replied, hope replacing disappointment. "Very much." Maya nodded, taking another step closer. "I'm not promising anything. There's still so much to figure out, practical arrangements, Lily's treatment, where we'll all live." "Of course," Leo assured her. "No pressure, no expectations." But this, Maya closed the final distance between them, her hand reaching up to touch his face in a gesture that felt both new and achingly familiar. "This feels like a place to start." Leo remained perfectly still, allowing her to set the pace of this tentative reconnection. When her hand slipped to the back of his neck and she rose slightly on her toes, he responded with equal gentleness, the kiss they shared soft and questioning, an exploration rather than a declaration. When they separated, both slightly breathless, Leo rested his forehead against hers. "I never stopped loving you," he confessed. "Even when I thought I'd never see you again." "I never stopped either," Maya admitted, the truth she had denied even to herself finally spoken aloud. "I tried. God knows I tried. But you were always there, in Lily's eyes, in her smile, in the way she looks at the world with such curiosity." "Where do we go from here?" Leo asked, the question practical despite the emotional moment. Home, Maya decided. All of us. We find a place that can be home, where Lily can grow up healthy and safe. Where we can figure out what we might become together. I'd like that, Leo agreed, his arms still loosely circled around her waist. Very much. A small sound from the hallway drew their attention. Lily stood in the doorway, sleepy but smiling at the sight of her parents together. Are we going to be a real family now? She asked, the directness of childhood cutting through pretense. Maya and Leo exchanged glances, a silent communication passing between them, the shared acknowledgement that their daughter deserved honesty, not false promises. We're already a real family, Lily, Maya answered carefully. Just one that's finding its way. Like the dolphins, Lily observed, referencing their earlier conversation about pod structures. Some live together all the time, and some meet up in different places, but they're still family. Exactly like the dolphins, Leo agreed, amazed once again by their daughter's perceptive nature. And no matter what, you'll always have both of us. Good, Lily yawned, apparently satisfied with this answer. Can we go to the tide pools again tomorrow? We'll see, Maya smiled, going to her daughter and guiding her back to bed. Sleep first, tide pools later. As Maya tucked Lily back in, Leo watched from the doorway, the simple domestic scene affecting him more powerfully than he could have anticipated. This was what he had missed for 7 years, these ordinary moments of family life that were, in their quiet way, extraordinary. When Maya returned to the living room, her expression was thoughtful but no longer guarded. One day at a time, she reminded him, though her smile held more warmth than caution. One day at a time, Leo agreed, taking her hand in his. Starting with today. Outside the hotel windows, the ocean stretched toward the horizon, its rhythmic waves reflecting the moon's silvery light. Like the tides that shaped the coast they both loved, their lives had ebbed apart only to flow back together, changed by time and experience, but following the eternal pull that connects parent to child, and heart to heart once more. Sometimes life's most painful separations lead us to our greatest purpose. Would you forgive someone who left you in your darkest hour if you discovered they were manipulated into leaving? Let me know in the comments below. And if this story touched your heart, please subscribe to our channel for more powerful stories of redemption, second chances, and the courage to face difficult truths.